On an afternoon in early 1985, 18-year-old Kathleen Allen was at her job at a local grocery store when the telephone rang. The man on the other end of the line had a specific, devastating message. He claimed to be a friend of her boyfriend, Michael Carroll. He told Kathleen that Michael had been involved in a shooting and was in serious trouble. He wouldn't be coming home, the man said, but he could take her to where Michael was staying. Distraught and desperate for answers, Kathleen spoke to her manager and left work immediately. Witnesses in the parking lot saw her approach a man with a beard who was waiting by a car. After a brief conversation, she climbed into the passenger seat. The man got behind the wheel and the car pulled away. It was the last time Kathleen Allen was ever seen alive in public. To understand how Kathleen ended up in that car, you have to look back at the days leading up to that phone call. Kathleen and Michael had been living together in a motel room, living a quiet, unremarkable life. One evening around 10 p.m., Michael told Kathleen he had some business to take care of and would be back in the morning. He never returned. For 3 days, Kathleen waited, moving through her daily routine in a state of growing anxiety, until the phone call at the grocery store offered a lead she felt she couldn't ignore. The man in the car was not a friend of Michael's. He was a predator named Leonard Lake. Leonard Lake was born in San Francisco in 1945. To those outside his inner circle, he appeared to be an intelligent, if somewhat eccentric individual. However, the stability of his early life fractured at the age of 6 when his parents separated. He and his siblings were sent to live with their grandmother, an environment where Lake's darkest impulses began to manifest without anyone stepping in. During his youth, Lake's behavior was deeply predatory. He was known to dissolve small animals in chemicals and was caught taking illicit photographs of his own sister. Most disturbing were the reports that he coerced his siblings into sexual acts. Despite these clear warning signs of a developing sociopath, his grandmother reportedly failed to seek professional help or intervene in any meaningful way. These formative years didn't just harbor his fixations, they allowed them to rot and deepen. By the time he reached adulthood, Lake's interests shifted toward a radical and paranoid brand of survivalism. He became obsessed with the idea of an impending nuclear apocalypse. This wasn't just a hobby, it was a foundational worldview he used to justify his desire for control and isolation. Throughout the late 1970s and early 1980s, Lake moved between various properties, always attempting to construct fortified bunkers where he could retreat from society. In 1981, Lake placed an advertisement in a survivalist magazine. He wasn't looking for a friend, he was looking for a partner who shared his nihilistic outlook. The ad was answered by Charles Nunn, a native of Hong Kong and a former Marine who had been dishonorably discharged and had a history of legal trouble. The two men were a volatile match. They quickly began a cycle of crimes, including the theft of firearms. These activities eventually landed them in prison, but their brief sentences did nothing to deter them. Upon their release, they moved to a remote, wooded area in Wellsville, California. It was here, on a property owned by Lake's ex-wife, that their shared fantasies began to take a physical, lethal form. With the help of unsuspecting local laborers, Lake and Nunn constructed a sophisticated bunker near a small cabin on the property. To the neighbors, it looked like a standard fallout shelter. Inside, however, the structure was designed for a far more sinister purpose. Lake outfitted the rooms with heavy locks, illegal weaponry, and a complex system of video recording equipment. He began filming what he called the Miranda Project, named after a character in a novel who is kidnapped and held captive. Lake's journals revealed a chilling philosophy. He believed that in the aftermath of a nuclear war, women would be a commodity to be owned and used.
Good evening. It's a Sunday in October, 22nd, 23rd, something like that. Very close to my 38th birthday. And I'm starting this tape without script or without any real organization of what I want to say. This tape, what you're hearing now, is going to be the lead-in of the various phases of construction of a building, which hopefully will be the first of a series of underground buildings. The main emphasis of the building, the whole justification for its expense and its effort, will be a hidden portion of it, a secret room, if we can call it that, that will house a cell, a jail cell, if you will. And the purpose of that cell, and the main purpose, hence, of the building, will be the imprisonment of a young lady who probably at this moment is unknown to me. What I want is an off-the-shelf sex partner. I want to be able to use a woman whenever and however I want. And when I'm tired or satiated or bored or not interested, I simply want to put her away, lock her up in a little room, get her out of my sight, out of my life. The advantages of such a situation are, of course, obvious and even beyond sexual. Such a woman, totally enslaved, would be useful for the mundane chores that I have to do, but I'm not particularly interested in doing. Clean house, washing dishes, etc. Slave, there's no way around it. Primarily a sexual slave.
Okraska. It's being called the creepiest crime scene in America. A remote cabin where cops say some of the most gruesome serial killings in California history took place. Well, now Ed Miller's giving you an exclusive and very disturbing look inside this house of horrors.
First, they were kidnapped, then robbed, raped, and killed. 12 innocent victims, 3 women, 7 men, 2...
The disappearance of Kathleen Allen was part of a larger methodical pattern. Lake and Nung didn't just target young women, they targeted entire families to ensure no one would come looking for their primary victims. Their process often began with Michael Carroll, Kathleen's boyfriend. Lake and Nung had met Michael previously. They lured him to the Wellesleyville property under the guise of a job or a business deal. Once Michael was killed, they used his disappearance to bait Kathleen. By telling her Michael was injured or in hiding, they ensured she would come to them willingly. This was their standard operating procedure. They would kill the men, rob them, and then use the victims' keys and identification to enter their homes. They would tell the remaining family members that their loved ones were in trouble and needed help, luring them back to the remote cabin in the woods. Once on the property, the victims were trapped. The VHS tapes discovered later revealed the clinical, detached way the 2 men treated their captives. Victims were often given an ultimatum: comply with every demand and serve as a captive in the bunker or face immediate death. In reality, the choice was an illusion. No one was meant to leave the property alive. Lake and Nung used the victims' identities to pay bills and maintain the appearance that the missing people were still alive and simply traveling, buying themselves months of time to continue their spree. The decade of horror came to an abrupt end in June 1985, not through a massive manhunt, but because of a minor shoplifting incident. Charles Nung was spotted stealing a $75 vise from a hardware store in San Francisco. When Lake attempted to pay for the item to settle the matter, police became suspicious. Upon questioning, Lake produced a driver's license in the name of Robin Stapley, a man who had been missing for weeks. The police took both men into custody. While sitting in the back of a patrol car, Leonard Lake made a final desperate choice to evade justice. He had a cyanide pill sewn into the lapel of his jacket. He swallowed the poison and died 4 days later in a hospital without ever confessing to the scale of his crimes. With Lake dead, the investigation shifted to the Wellesleyville property. What investigators found was a scene of industrial-scale murder. They discovered multiple vehicles belonging to missing persons in a burn pit behind the cabin. Forensic teams painstakingly sifted through the soil, uncovering approximately 40 pounds of charred and crushed human bone fragments. It was determined that these remains represented at least 11 different victims, though the true number is feared to be higher. Inside the bunker, they found the tools the men used, buckets filled with wedding rings, social security cards, and hundreds of hours of VHS tapes that documented the final moments of their victims. The evidence against Charles Nung was overwhelming. Although he fled to Canada shortly after Lake's arrest, he was eventually extradited back to California. In 1999, Charles Nung was convicted of 12 counts of first-degree murder. The trial was one of the longest and most expensive in California history, delayed for years by Nung's various legal maneuvers. He was sentenced to death and remains incarcerated at San Quentin State Prison. The Wellesleyville property has since been cleared, but the memory of what occurred there remains a dark chapter. There was no grand motive behind the actions of Leonard Lake and Charles Nung beyond a depraved desire for total dominance over others. Kathleen Allen, Michael Carroll, and many others were not victims of a survivalist's war, but of 2 men who saw their human beings as nothing more than property. The bunker is gone now, leaving only the quiet woods of Calaveras County behind. A man was exploring the ruins of an abandoned building deep in a remote forest. The structure was decaying, filled with shadows and the sound of his own footsteps. He eventually found a set of narrow stairs leading down into the dark. He gets to the bottom of the basement and begins to pan his flashlight around the room. Then he stops.
Est-ce qu'il y a quelqu'un encore qui habite ici? Waouh, l'état de la cave. C'est quoi ça?
Paralyzed with fear, he freezes in place for several seconds. Standing directly in front of him is a tall, thin figure tucked into a doorway. It remains perfectly still, watching him with two bright, glowing eyes that reflect the light of his camera. He doesn't move, and neither does the creature. If you were standing in that basement, would you have stayed to see what happened next? The Thunder River Rapids ride at Dreamworld was designed for families. Since 1986, it was a kind of attraction where parents took toddlers aged 2 and up. They sat in circular, 6-person rafts that drifted through man-made rapids and dark tunnels. It was considered one of the safest, most relaxed rides in Australia's largest theme park. On Tuesday, October 25, 2016, that perception of safety vanished in exactly 30 seconds. The disaster began long before the rafts collided. It started with a mechanical failure that had become a routine nuisance for the park's maintenance team. The south water pump, which maintained the water levels necessary for the rafts to float safely, had already failed twice that morning. It had failed 5 times in the week leading up to the accident. Under Dreamworld's own safety guidelines, the ride should have been shut down for a total overhaul after the second failure in a single day. That did not happen. Each time the pump tripped, it was simply reset and the ride was reopened to the public. Just after 2 p.m., a group of family and friends from Canberra boarded Raft 5. The group included 32-year-old Kate Goodchild, her brother Luke Dorset, 35, and Luke's partner, 38-year-old Ruzi Aragi. They were joined by 42-year-old Cindy Lowe and her 10-year-old son, Kieran. Kate's 12-year-old daughter, Ebony, was also on board. Standing at the station was Kate's husband, Dave, who was holding their 8-month-old baby, watching them start the final leg of the ride. As Raft 5 approached the end of the course, the south water pump failed for the 3rd time that day. The impact was immediate. Without the pump pushing water into the upper channel, the water level of the unloading station dropped sharply and suddenly. The raft ahead of them, Raft 6, didn't have enough water to stay buoyant. It became beached, stuck on the heavy metal support struts that were now exposed above the receding waterline. It sat there, stationary, right at the point where the water meets the wooden conveyor belt. Raft 5 was already on that conveyor belt. It was being pulled out of the water and up the incline toward the station. The ride operators noticed the water drop. The lead operator reached for the control panel and pressed the conveyor stop button, but the system was designed with a fatal delay. From the moment that button was pressed, it took over 30 seconds for the massive heavy conveyor belt to actually grind to a halt. In those 30 seconds, the disaster became inevitable. The conveyor continued to move, indifferent to the button press. It pushed Raft 5 directly into the back of the stranded Raft 6. Because the conveyor kept moving underneath them, the two rafts began to pivot. They tilted violently upward, creating a vertical V-shape. The machinery did not stop. The conveyor belt, still moving during that 30-second window, began to pull Raft 5 down into the narrow gap between the wooden slats of the belt and the mixed metal support struts of the ride's frame. The fiberglass raft was not built to withstand that kind of mechanical force. It began to be ripped apart. Kate, Luke, Ruzi, and Cindy were caught in the primary drive machinery. At the unload station, there was a second emergency stop button. This button was capable of halting the entire system in just 2 seconds. For reasons that would later dominate the legal inquiry, neither operator pressed it. The 2 children, Ebony and Kieran, were seated at the very top of the tilting raft. As it flipped, they managed to cling to the edges long enough to reach the concrete platform. They were the only survivors from Raft 5. The timeline was captured in haunting detail by the park's CCTV. Investigators used the footage to count every second of the 30-second halt. It showed the exact moment the pump failed, the visible drop in the water level, and the slow-motion collision of the 2 rafts. The footage confirmed a grim reality. The disaster was preventable at multiple points. If the ride had been closed after the second pump failure, if the emergency stop had been pressed, or if the conveyor had a faster response time, the family would have walked off the ride. The immediate aftermath was chaotic. Dave Turner, still holding his 8-month-old, saw the raft flip. He dived into the water, desperate to reach his wife, Kate. Dreamworld staff had to pull him back from the machinery. Minutes later, he was seen in the car park, shirtless and covered in mud. In a state of total shock, witnesses heard him calling out to the ride staff over and over, "Why didn't you stop the ride?" The impact on the family was total. Kim Dorsett, the mother of Kate and Luke, spoke to the media that afternoon in a state of disbelief. "I have 3 children and have lost 2 of them today," she said. "My whole family has been wiped out." She spoke of the tragedy of an 8-month-old girl who would grow up knowing her mother only through photographs. Years later, during the sentencing of Ardent Leisure, the parent company of Dreamworld, Kim stood in court. She shared a detail that had haunted her since the day of that accident. She told the court about the 4 words spoken by 12-year-old Ebony immediately after she scrambled to safety. "I could not find mommy." Kim described those words as a recurring nightmare that would stay with her until her dying breath. The legal consequences were significant. Ardent Leisure was fined 3.6 million Australian dollars, the largest fine ever handed down for a workplace safety breach in Queensland at the time. The coroner's report was scathing, pointing to systemic failure in safety culture and maintenance. It was revealed that the ride safety systems were rudimentary and had not been properly updated in 30 years. In 2018, the Thunder River Rapids ride was demolished. It wasn't just torn down, the entire site was buried in concrete to ensure it could never be used again. The tragedy at Dreamworld remains a stark reminder of what happens when maintenance becomes a suggestion rather than a rule. It wasn't a freak accident or an act of God. It was a 30-second window where the machinery worked exactly the way it was built, but the people in charge of it failed to act. Safety isn't just about the buttons you press, it's about the warnings you choose to ignore. One missed repair cost 4 lives.
21st, 1997. History of the Prophet Joseph Smith. In 5th through 8th grade class. How anxious I am for Heavenly Father's Spirit to touch your minds and hearts.
If the prophet told you to marry, you obeyed. It didn't matter who the man was, and it certainly didn't matter how old you were. This was the foundational law of the Fundamentalist Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, or the FLDS. For the better part of a century, this group operated from a tiny Utah town called Short Creek, staying largely beneath the radar while enforcing a system of absolute psychological and physical control. Most recently, the organization was governed by Warren Jeffs. He preached a chilling doctrine that plural marriage was not just a religious preference, but a divine requirement for entering the kingdom of heaven. As a self-proclaimed prophet, Jeffs was seen as the sole voice of God on earth. Under his direction, women were treated as pawns in a spiritual game of chess. Hundreds of girls were forced into marriages with men old enough to be their grandfathers, all under the belief that their submission was the only path to eternal salvation. The reality inside the FLDS is among the darkest chapters in modern history. Like many predatory groups, they were experts at keeping their secrets. They destroyed records, sealed away media, and ensured that the horrors occurring behind closed doors stay there. I will be diving into the full history of the FLDS very soon, but for now we have to look at how these deeply guarded secrets eventually collided with the most unlikely place imaginable, American reality television. In 2008, Fox premiered a game show called The Moment of Truth. The premise was simple but inherently brutal. Contestants were asked deeply personal, controversial questions in front of a live studio audience for a growing cash prize. But there was a catch. Before the cameras started rolling, each player was hooked up to a polygraph. Their answers on stage were measured against that physiological data. If you told the truth, the money increased. If the polygraph determined you were lying, you lost everything, and your most shameful secrets were broadcast to millions of viewers. It was a show designed for high-stakes exposure, but in August 2010, the stakes became far more serious. A contestant named Melanie Williams took the stage for the 9th episode of the 2nd season. Unlike the typical players looking for a quick payday, Melanie brought with her a history that the show's producers were likely unprepared for. She had grown up inside the FLDS. She had lived through the atrocities committed against the women and children at Short Creek, and she was there to speak.
While living in a polygamous community, did you know of any underage girls who were married to adult men?
Yeah.
That answer is true.
But nothing could stop her.
To this day, Season 2, Episode 9 is considered lost media. The broadcast has been almost entirely scrubbed from existence. All that remains of her debut is a brief promotional trailer that hints at the shocking nature of her revelations. However, Melanie returned for episode 10, and that footage does survive in its entirety. It was during this appearance that she reached a point no other contestant had ever touched. She was standing before the final $500,000 question. Host Mark Wahlberg paused, giving her a moment to back out. He warned her that the next question would be the most difficult of all. Despite the visible weight of the moment, Melanie chose to continue.
I'm gonna do it for my dad. I'm gonna go for it.
You're going for it? Holy moly!
Are you okay?
It's a tough question, excuse me. But it's a tough question for me. It's a tough question.
As the question was read, tears began to well in her eyes. Sitting beside her was her father, who looked on with a strange expression of confusion. He seemed unable to grasp why she was reacting this way, perhaps wondering what else could possibly be left to reveal after everything she had already admitted.
For $500,000, Melanie Williams. Question 21. Do you believe your father, as an adult, has ever had sexual relations with a minor?
Yes.
That answer is true.
When the truth was finally aired, the audience erupted in shock. Melanie sat in a stunned, heavy silence. Her father's response to the revelation only added to the surreal, haunting atmosphere of the studio. It was a moment where the private trauma of a cult was suddenly stripped bare on stage meant for entertainment. 4 months after the broadcast, in January 2011, Melanie posted to her personal blog to address the lingering questions about her time on the show. In a post dated January 7th, she dropped a final devastating detail. She revealed that her father had lied on the air during his own segment. The girl they had been discussing during the show wasn't 17, as he claimed to the cameras. Her name was Joy, and she was only 14 years old. Despite this public admission of a crime, there is no record of Melanie's father ever being investigated or charged. Melanie herself stopped posting updates shortly after that blog entry. Even years later, this footage remains one of the most haunting things ever shown on mainstream TV. It is highly likely that this specific incident helped accelerate the show's eventual cancellation. Even if episode 9 is never recovered, Melanie Williams achieved something remarkable. She used the sensationalist game show to expose the inner workings of one of the world's most secretive cults. She brought light to a group that spent a century hiding its history of abuse behind the claim that they were simply following the will of God. If you found the reality of these cases disturbing, take a moment to reset. We are moving into the next case now, and it's even more disturbing. Something started to go wrong in October 1999 in the south end of Fort Worth, Texas. People began noticing a strange smell drifting through the air. At first, it was faint, easy to ignore, something you might pass off as a bad trash day or spoiled food nearby. But over time, it didn't go away. It grew stronger. Within days, that smell spread. It pushed into homes, lingered in businesses, and drifted across nearby parks. People couldn't escape it. The odor was thick, sour, and overwhelming. Those who experienced it described it as nauseating, like something had been left to rot for far too long. Residents began calling the authorities, trying to figure out what was happening. The smell hadn't slowly built over time. It seemed to appear almost overnight, and with each passing day, it only got worse. Eventually, attention turned to a building at the corner of Hemphill and West Fogg Street. It had once been a small neighborhood grocery store known as Mexia Supermarket. The family that ran it had served the community for years. Locals knew the place. It had been part of the area for a long time, but now the doors were shut. The building sat empty. No lights, no movement, just silence. The family was gone, and the store had been left abandoned. Whatever was causing the smell was coming from inside. When officials finally entered the building, what they found was far worse than anyone expected. Inside, the store had completely broken down. What had once been shelves of food was now something unrecognizable. Meat and produce had rotted into thick, blackened sludge. Packaging had split open. Liquids had leaked and spread across the floors. Milk and frozen goods had ruptured after weeks of uncontrolled fermentation, leaving behind a foul chemical-like stench. The air itself had changed. It was heavy, toxic, almost impossible to breathe. The natural breakdown of all that organic material had altered the environment inside the building, creating conditions that made it dangerous to even stand there for long. And then there was the infestation. At some point, the decay had drawn in insects and rodents, but with no one there to stop it, the problem grew out of control. Maggots spread across the floors, roaches covered walls, shelves, and ceilings. Rats moved freely through the store, and flies filled the air in such massive numbers that they formed thick, shifting clouds. Workers later reported that when they first stepped inside, they could barely see more than a few feet in front of them. Everything inside the building was alive. What had once been a normal grocery store had turned into a full-scale biohazard. Investigators later determined the building had been left in this state for nearly 3 months. As the situation became clear, the Fort Worth Health Department stepped in and officially declared the site a public health hazard. A cleanup had to be done, but even that presented a serious problem. Under normal circumstances, a building in that condition might be demolished or burned, but here, that wasn't possible. The infestation had grown so severe that destroying the structure would have sent millions of insects and rodents scattering into the surrounding neighborhood. The contamination wouldn't end, it would spread. So instead, a crew was brought in to clean it manually, wearing full hazmat suits and oxygen tanks. Workers entered the building and began the process piece by piece. Rotting food had to be collected, bagged, and removed by hand. Every surface had to be disinfected. The entire structure had to be fumigated. All of this was done while standing inside swarms of flies and surrounded by infestation on every side. It wasn't a quick process. The cleanup took nearly an entire month. Day after day, workers returned to that building, slowly removing what had been left behind. By December, the store was finally cleared out. The shelves were empty. The waste was gone. But even then, something remained. The smell never fully disappeared. Years later, the building was eventually reopened under a new name. On the outside, it looked like a normal store again. Customers came and went. Business resumed, but some people who entered claimed the odor was still there, faint but unmistakable. One online review posted more than a decade after the original incident described it in simple terms. According to them, the place still smelled like death. Most of what exists today from inside that building comes from a short segment featured in a 2010 documentary. The footage shows only a brief glimpse of the conditions inside, just enough to give an idea how bad it was. But according to people who saw the original news coverage at the time, it was far worse than what survives today. Some described windows so completely covered in insects that they appeared blacked out, entire surfaces moving, shifting with roaches and flies. A scene so overwhelming that it stayed with people long after they saw it. One viewer later wrote that the images gave them recurring nightmares, not just because of what was shown, but because of how real it was, the scale of it, the smell they imagined, the idea of stepping inside that space and not being able to escape it. Even now, only about a minute of footage is publicly available. The rest, if it still exists at all, has never resurfaced. It sits somewhere in archives, lost to time or possibly gone entirely, and considering what was found inside that building, it may be better if it stays that way. A row of Halloween skulls is lined up along a brick fence. A woman stands nearby adjusting the decorations with her back turned to the wall. Then it happens. One of the skulls in the middle of the row slowly begins to turn. It doesn't shake or shift randomly. It rotates smoothly to the side, stopping when it's facing directly toward her. The rest of the skulls don't move at all. According to the family, there were no strings or moving parts attached to any of them. And if it was wind, nothing else in the row reacts, only that one. If nothing touched it, what made it turn? Let me know what you think. You're driving through Shelikov, Russia, when your windshield suddenly explodes. There is no warning, just a violent crack and a heavy metal object embedded in the glass, inches from your face. A stray hunk of iron, likely kicked up by the tires of a passing truck, becomes a high-speed projectile in a split second. At those speeds, road debris carries enough force to punch straight through the front of the car and into the seats. The driver somehow stayed on the road, and miraculously, no one was hit. But looking at the size of the hole, it's clear how close this came to being a fatal accident. Why I'm scared of elevators.
Hola, hola, hola. ¿Estoy viva? Estoy bien. Quieta, 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 mi amor. Quieta, quieta, cariño. Quieta, quieta, mi amor. Estate tranquilita, mi amor. Estate tranquilita, cariño. Estate tranquilita. Estate tranquilita, mi vida. Estate tranquilita. Estate tranquilita, no pasa nada, no pasa nada. Estate tranquilita, que no pasa nada.
A cyclist is riding along a narrow, crumbling trail on the edge of a cliff in Spain. The path is barely wide enough for her tires, with a sheer drop just inches to her right. Suddenly, her front wheel catches on a loose rock. She loses her balance and slides sideways off a ledge. She tumbles down a steep, jagged slope, but it isn't a straight drop down. The rocky terrain catches her and breaks her fall before she hits the bottom of the ravine. The angle of the hillside is the only thing that kept her from a free fall. The rider, Cecilia Cepena, later posted an apology for not wearing a helmet during the trip. She admitted the fall changed her perspective on the risks she was taking. Looking at the footage, you can see the exact moment her tires lose the dirt and she heads into empty air. This has to be the worst ladder placement in history, right? A container lorry in Mudager, India, pulls out to overtake a slower truck and miscalculates the space. As the driver tries to get back into his lane, the heavy trailer begins to sway and slide sideways across the narrow road. The back of the lorry fishtails across the pavement, narrowly missing two oncoming motorcycles before slamming into a car parked on the shoulder. The trailer scrapes down the entire side of the car, avoiding a full head-on collision. While the people inside the parked car walked away unhurt, the lorry driver and his helper were both injured in the wreck. Looking at the metal peeled back from the car door, it's clear how close this came to a direct hit.
What is the location of your emergency?
11250 East Colonial Drive.
11250 East Colonial Drive, and what's going on there?
Yes. There's a man wearing all black with a ski mask. He has a weapon on his side. It looks like a long knife. And he has a dog. He just stole a lot of merchandise. And we approached him. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So we approached. Happened. Currently happened. He's still in the parking lot.
Okay. All right. You said he's armed and wearing a black ski mask?
Yeah. He seemed intoxicated as well.
The deputy runs toward a man in a black ski mask and all black clothing in the Walmart parking lot on East Colonial Drive. The suspect stands by a silver car, holding a dog on a leash with one hand while a larger knife is visible in a sheath at his hip. "Get on the ground now. Get on the ground. Get on the ground," the deputy shouts. The man stays on his feet, staring at the officer and ignoring the commands as more sirens approach. The deputy keeps his weapon level, repeating, "Get on the ground or you will be shot. Get on the ground." The man remains upright, his posture stiffening as he refuses to drop. The officer gives several more warnings before firing. The clicking of the taser fills the air, but the probes fail to stop the man. Instead, he immediately drops his hand toward his waistband.
3211, I'm 1012 at Lake Virgin 50.
Hey, get on the ground now! Get on the ground now! Get on the ground! Get on the ground! Get on the ground! Get on the ground or you will be shot! Get on the ground! He's uncooperative. Can I get someone, Get on the ground or you're gonna get tased! Get on the ground or you're gonna get tased, bro! Get on the ground, you're gonna get tased, bro! Get on the ground! And you better not let that dog out. Get on the ground. Get on the ground. You will be tased. Stop resisting. Get on the ground. You're gonna get tased, bro. Take the point, take the point. Hey, don't reach! Don't reach! Do not reach! Shots fired, shots fired. Do not reach! Do not reach! Do not reach! Turn around! Turn around! Turn around! Do not reach, bro! Do not reach! Do not reach for anything, or you will be shot again. Get it! Turn around! Turn around! Shots fired, shots fired. Get out!
You got him? Go help him. Somebody recover. Get down! Get down! Get down! Go ahead, somebody.
Keep your hands on your head. Do it now!
Put your hands on your head.
Get on your stomach.
Signal 43, Virgin is at 11250, he's going to drive Lake Virgin 50. Signal 4050, Virgin is Lake Virgin 50.
Someone's gonna have to tase him again. Get down!
You get shot again, bro.
Where you got it?
All right.
Wait, guys, wait.
Go for the legs.
Wait,
Go for the legs.
Okay. Give us your arm.
Okay.
There you go.
You guys legs? All right. We can check where he's shot. Yeah. Okay.
You got it. Bend your arm. You got it?
I got this one.
Okay.
We got him on the ground, he's resisting, we're trying to...
All right.
Okay, we need the other arm.
Officers move in as a team, one covering with a sidearm while others grab the man's arms to pull them behind his back. They quickly secure his wrists in handcuffs and search his waistband, recovering 2 knives from his person. They immediately begin cutting away his clothing to find the entry wounds and check for bleeding, while calling for an ambulance. The suspects survive the encounter with non-life-threatening injuries. The footage ends with the 2 knives lying on the pavement a few feet away from the discarded merchandise.
Zahamowali go.
Zatrzymał się?
Chyba go zapali. Ktoś go tam złapał. Ale jedno. Zatrzymał się? Chyba poleciał dalej.
The climber is making a winter ascent on Mount Risey in Poland when a single misplaced step sends him sliding down the frozen slope. In the footage, he immediately tries to react, but the icy terrain makes it impossible to regain his footing. As he picks up speed, he loses his ice axe, the tool he needs to dig into the snow and stop the slide. Without it, he has no way to break his fall and continues to tumble down the snowy face until the ground finally levels out. The climber walked away from the fall with only a minor injury to his little finger and was able to leave the area on his own. Looking at the long trail left in the snow, you can see exactly how far he slid without any way to stop. At an old hotel in Arizona, a receptionist's night shift just took a strange turn. His coworker called him into one of the rooms to witness something that shouldn't be possible.
What the? Nah.
Yeah, cause let me hit it now. And
yeah.
The bed is empty, the sheets are tucked, but something is clearly moving underneath the heavy white fabric. It isn't a small insect or a draft. It's a distinct, solid bulge that shifts and darts across the mattress, as if it's looking for a way out. Every time the man reaches out to straighten the linens, activity starts again. When he finally loses his patience and slams his hand down on the spot, the movement instantly vanishes into thin air. He searched the entire frame, but there's nothing there. What do you think is hiding under those sheets? Tampa resident Jeffrey Heim had only been swimming in the MYUU River for a few minutes when something slammed into him with such force that at first he thought he had been hit by a boat. The impact was sudden, violent, and completely unexpected, turning what should have been a normal moment in the water into a fight for survival. By sheer coincidence, a drone was flying overhead at the exact moment the incident unfolded, capturing the entire encounter on camera. While the footage isn't perfectly clear, one thing is undeniable. A violent struggle was taking place in the water. The video shows Jeffrey thrashing and fighting desperately, trying to break free as the surface churns around him. Within seconds, it became clear what he was up against. An alligator had attacked him. The footage shows Jeffrey kicking and pulling himself forward, doing everything he could to escape as he swam frantically toward the riverbank. Every movement looked like a race against time, knowing that if he slowed down for even a moment, the outcome could have been very different. Somehow, against the odds, he made it out alive. Later, Jeffrey recalled that the alligator was roughly 10 feet long, a massive animal capable of overpowering almost anything in the water. The injuries he suffered reflected just how close the encounter was to becoming fatal. He required 34 stitches to his head due to a skull injury and had multiple bite marks across his body from the attack. Despite the severity of what happened, Jeffrey survived, something that doesn't happen often in encounters like this, but the experience left a lasting impact. He now says he will never go near that river again. Can't say I blame him. On February 23, 2026, late in the morning, what started as a routine moment in traffic quickly spiraled into a violent confrontation. A pregnant woman was driving when another motorist became upset after being honked at, something witnesses described as a normal part of traffic flow. According to those who saw the incident, the other driver began acting aggressively almost immediately. She repeatedly slowed down and hit her brakes in front of the pregnant woman's vehicle, creating a dangerous situation on the road. Instead of calming down, the behavior continued to escalate as tensions between the two drivers grew. The situation took a more serious turn when the suspect suddenly cut across lanes, stopped her vehicle, and got out. Witnesses say she walked directly toward the pregnant woman's car, turning what had been a road dispute into physical confrontation. Authorities report that the suspect climbed onto the hood of the vehicle and opened the driver's door, confronting the woman inside. At that point, the incident crossed from aggressive driving into an alleged assault. As this was happening, another driver who had been nearby and witnessed the entire situation decided to step in and help. The woman, described as older, exited her own vehicle in an attempt to intervene and calm things down. However, police say she was also attacked during the incident, suffering scratches and being struck by the suspect. Despite the chaos, the suspect did not leave the scene. When officers with the Orlando Police Department arrived, they were able to quickly identify her based on detailed descriptions provided by both victims and witnesses. As officers attempted to take her into custody, the situation escalated once again. According to police, the suspect resisted arrest and became physically combative. During the struggle, she allegedly kicked and bit one of the officers while they were trying to restrain her.
Putting you in cuffs, you're going to be detained until I determine otherwise. You understand?
I'll play the on, no.
Don't resist me.
Tell me why. Tell me why. First of all, tell me why.
Don't resist. You're being held for battery. Okay. Do not hold. Do not resist.
That's I am. Go.
Don't bite me.
Get the off of me.
Turn around.
After being subdued, the suspect was identified as 37-year-old Mandolyn Schaffer Brockwell. She was taken into custody and transported to jail. Authorities charged her with multiple offenses stemming from the incident. Those charges include resisting an officer with violence, battery on a person 65 years or older, aggravated battery on a law enforcement officer, and burglary of a conveyance with assault or battery. What began as a minor disagreement on the road quickly escalated into a dangerous situation involving multiple victims and a physical confrontation. This dashcam footage captures something truly terrifying with this bus in front of them.
কেমনে সেভ করলো নাকি ইচ্ছা করে করলো? ও সেভ করেছে, তুমি কি করছো? 9:13 এই জায়গার ভিডিওটা নিয়ে রাখতে হবে তো।
This was too close for comfort and serves as further evidence of the severity of the bus driver issue in certain nations. The green bus driver was traveling far too quickly, and the white bus driver simply turned without looking. He deserves praise for at least successfully avoiding him. Still, that probably wouldn't have been required if he had been traveling at a regular pace. In the late summer of 2024, a brief piece of security footage from a residential neighborhood in Omaha, Nebraska, began drawing serious attention from both investigators and the community. At first, the video seemed to show something tragically familiar, a woman arriving home after what appeared to be an ordinary day. She pulled into her driveway expecting nothing more than the routine end to an outing. What happened next unfolded in a matter of seconds and permanently altered that sense of normalcy. As soon as her vehicle came to a stop, multiple individuals approached with alarming speed and coordination. They didn't hesitate or appear uncertain. They knew exactly what they wanted and how long they had to get it. Within moments, they had taken her designer handbag, a bank deposit bag, and even her engagement ring. Then just as quickly as they arrived, they were gone. The entire confrontation was over almost as soon as it began, but the emotional damage left behind was far from brief. Initially, the crime looked like a spur-of-the-moment robbery, the kind of thing often attributed to opportunity and bad luck. But as deputies with the Douglas County Sheriff's Office began examining the case more closely, that explanation quickly fell apart. The deeper they looked, the clearer it became that this was not random. It was deliberate, calculated, and planned well in advance. Investigators uncovered that the suspects had traveled an extraordinary distance to commit the crime. Authorities believe the group drove close to 900 miles from Texas to Nebraska. This wasn't a coincidence or a spontaneous road trip gone wrong. The suspects allegedly targeted smaller Midwestern cities on purpose, operating under the assumption that they would attract less attention, face fewer immediate connections between crimes, and be able to leave town long before anyone realized a pattern existed. Omaha, investigators say, was selected intentionally. Evidence later revealed that the group spent significant amounts of time sitting in banked parking lots throughout the city, especially along major commercial routes. Cell phone data showed them waiting for extended periods, sometimes 20 minutes, sometimes nearly 40. They weren't in a hurry, they weren't improvising, they were watching, observing foot traffic, studying routines, and identifying people who appeared to be carrying cash, deposits, or valuables. Once a potential target was chosen, they followed that person, sometimes for miles, all the way home. The driveway robbery captured on camera was the final step in a process that began long before the victim ever realized she was being watched. It was the result of patience and surveillance, not impulse. The home security footage became a critical piece of evidence, but early progress in the case was frustratingly slow. The suspect vehicle captured in a video had no visible license plate, a detail investigators believe was intentional. Without a plate number, detectives were left with only a general description of the car. Leads were thin and immediate identification was impossible. Despite the challenges, the case never stalled. Investigators continued working quietly, methodically, collecting small pieces of information and waiting for the right break. That break eventually came through a combination of technology and persistence. License plate reader systems across Omaha, along with data from the police department's real-time operations center, helped narrow down potential vehicles that matched the suspect car's movements and appearance. After careful review, investigators were able to isolate the specific vehicle believed to be connected to the robbery. That discovery opened the door to cooperation with law enforcement agencies in Texas, where additional records and information began filling in the missing pieces. Once the vehicle link was established, investigators moved quickly to subpoena cell phone records Associated with the suspects, the data told a revealing story. It showed consistent travel patterns between Texas and multiple Midwestern states, including Nebraska. More importantly, it placed the suspects near banks, ATMs, and financial institutions in Omaha at times that aligned with witness statements and surveillance footage. What once looked like a single terrifying incident was now clearly a part of a larger organized operation. Authorities believe the group followed the repeatable formula: select a city, spend time watching financial locations, identify a target, follow them home, strike quickly, leave town. The precision of that method and the confidence behind it is what investigators found most disturbing. It suggested the suspects believed that distance alone would shield them from consequences.
Group that specifically travels from Texas around the Midwest to focus on banks and ATM machines in order to find their victim.
In October 2024, one of the suspects, 21-year-old Marco Penny, was extradited from Houston to Douglas County. He was charged with 2 felony offenses related to the Omaha robbery. Afterward, he was released on bond and fitted with an ankle monitor. Another suspect, 19-year-old Brad Folsom, is expected to face separate charges in Texas before being transferred to Nebraska. Authorities have stated that at least 2 additional individuals connected to the case remain at large. For the victim, the aftermath extended far beyond the loss of valuables. Being confronted in your own driveway, a space meant to symbolize safety and privacy, fundamentally changes how you move through the world. Everyday routines begin to feel exposed. Simple actions like pulling into your driveway or unloading your car take on an entirely different weight when you realize how closely you are being watched. Investigators stress that crimes like this aren't just about stolen property, they're about restoring a sense of security to people who suddenly understand how vulnerable they were. Douglas County Sheriff Aaron Hansen emphasized that message publicly, making it clear that these cases are pursued relentlessly, even if it takes months or years to bring everyone involved to justice. The message extends in 2 directions. To the public, it's reassurance that law enforcement does not forget or abandon these cases. To organized criminal groups, it's a warning. Crossing state lines does not erase responsibility.
Sure that we're sending a message not only to the innocent moms in Douglas County that we're going to pursue these guys relentlessly until they're in custody. We also want to send the message to those crime groups. Don't waste your time coming to...
The footage remains unsettling because it reveals how methodically some crimes truly are. It shows how patience and planning can turn an ordinary moment into a life-altering event. It also highlights how collaboration between agencies and states can slowly dismantle even the most confident criminal strategies. What lingers most is the contrast: a mother returning home, strangers watching from a distance, 2 paths crossing in a single moment that reshape lives. The camera doesn't just capture a crime, it captures the quiet truth that danger doesn't always arrive in chaos. Sometimes it follows silently, waits carefully, and strikes only when it believes no one will ever connect the story. In the middle of a brutal winter storm on Ben Nevis, Britain's highest peak, a group of Royal Marines was pushing through a training exercise in some of the most hostile conditions on Earth. Winds were howling at gale force 8 and visibility had dropped to a mere meter, creating a whiteout that swallowed everything in sight. Through the blinding snow, the team stumbled upon a sight that looked more like a ghost than a man. A climber was found curled into a ball in the snow, motionless and freezing. When the Marines reached him, they found his face covered in solid blocks of ice, his body rapidly succumbing to the sub-zero temperatures.
Take your down. Take your down. Take your down.
Knowing he was only minutes away from death, the troops acted with military precision. They fashioned a makeshift stretcher out of their own equipment and began a grueling descent down the mountain, battling the wind and ice to keep the man alive. The Dutch section commander later remarked that if they hadn't crossed paths with him at that exact moment, he certainly would not have survived the night. It is a chilling reminder how quickly the mountains can turn into a frozen tomb and how a single chance encounter can be the only thing standing between the climber and an icy grave.
Is he delivering pizza?
That's what I say. Because
You know who that is?
Imagine you don't want to go all the round, maybe.
It's 19 pieces.
Does it look like he has a pizza delivery?
It ain't DiGiorno. You can see it, Kathy?
This is Domino's, 30 minutes or less.
You have. I'm impressed, Kathy.
Yeah.
She's gonna cook the whole film.
That's Every person on the floor in here. Something.
Maybe he's going to deliver to the boat, the ice boaters.
Could you imagine indoor guest?
When a man pedaled the bike across the frozen Navesink River, Red Bank employees on break couldn't believe what they saw. This led to incredulity, swearing, and jokes about a pizza delivery gone wrong. Gotta respect the hustle though, right?
Makes sense. They're skimming on the top of the water. He's on a bicycle in a river.
That's incredible.
He does not have a wetsuit on. He's an idiot.
Pat, what's he got in the back? Is it a pizza?
I got the best
commentary.
This guy.
Uh-oh, here they come. Uh-oh. Is he delivering pizza?
That's what I say.
Because you know who that is?
Imagine he don't want to go all the round, maybe.
Shish, it's 19 pieces.
Does it look like he has a pizza delivery? It ain't DiGiorno.
You can see it, Kathy?
Well,
it's Domino's, 30 minutes or less.
You have. I'm impressed, Captain. Yeah, she's got like the whole film.
No, that's scary. Every person on the floor in here.
On the afternoon of Monday, September 8th, 2025, what began as a routine patrol in Ashtabula, Ohio, quickly escalated into a deadly chain of events. At approximately 2:41 p.m., a deputy with the Ashtabula County Sheriff's Office noticed a red motorcycle traveling near the intersection of Dwight Avenue and East 48th Street. The motorcycle was later confirmed to be operated by 54-year-old Jerry Pegram. When the deputy attempted to initiate a traffic stop, Pegram refused to comply and instead accelerated away, triggering a pursuit through the area. As the chase continued, additional law enforcement units joined in. Over the course of several minutes, 3 more deputies from the Ashtabula County Sheriff's Office became involved, along with an Ohio State Highway Patrol trooper who followed behind with authorization to assist if Pegram abandoned the motorcycle and fled on foot. According to radio traffic, the pursuit remained relatively controlled. Speeds were reported as low to moderate, and traffic in the area was described as minimal, reducing the immediate risk to the public. Despite this, deputies repeatedly observed Pegram throwing items from the motorcycle while riding. These objects were described at different moments as small packages in plastic baggies, raising concerns about what he may have been attempting to discard during the chase.
Going through a private property, which is right here next to Graham Road.
Going through private property, Graham.
Okay, south on Stanhope, speeds are 54.
Southbound on Sandhill Street 54.
¿Qué se pasa? Go boy!
Alright, so forward. How to do a stop. Approaching the end, coming to a stop.
After approximately 22 minutes, the pursuit came to an abrupt end. At around 3:03 p.m., deputies reported that Pegram had crashed his motorcycle near the intersection of Anderson Road and Stanhope-Kelligsville Road in Denmark Township. Rather than surrendering, Pegram got up from the wreck and ran into a wooded area just north of Anderson Road. Deputies followed him into the trees where the situation became increasingly volatile. One officer made contact with Pegram and the two briefly struggled as the officer attempted to take him into custody. A second officer arrived moments later and deployed a taser, but it failed to incapacitate him. As deputies continued trying to restrain Pegram, they reported seeing him reach underneath his clothing. Officers stated that Pegram began manipulating what appeared to be a black handgun. In the 10 seconds that followed, one officer shouted a warning, yelling "Gun, gun, gun," alerting others on scene to the immediate threat. Almost instantly, multiple officers discharged their firearms, striking Pegram several times.
Shots fired. Shots fired.
Everybody
Shots
good?
fired.
Everybody good? We're good. Everybody good?
Anybody hit?
I'm good. I'm good. Move in the cuff and secure the dog. You good?
I don't know. I got a firearm.
Are you hit?
No, I'm okay.
You start pulling trigger. Yeah. I watched.
You pointed it right at me.
Yeah, I know. Anybody calling out yet?
I'm good. I called shots fired.
Everybody good? Everybody good? All right. I'm loading up. Keep going.
Cuff them up.
Outside, 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 outside.
Yeah, bud.
Probably some medical. What? Start medical. All right.
Keep breathing.
You good, brother?
Still moving.
All right. All right, we gotta get him on his back.
SO, that's EMS and route. Yeah. 6 is secured, the shots fired. Road's 61. I'll go get a med kit.
All right,
There's a handle, the butt of it.
There's a handle here.
My taser's over here somewhere. I dropped it when he pointed the gun at me.
It's right here, right here.
Correct. Oh, shit. Lieutenant Johns is coming in.
All right, all right.
Shots fired, shots fired.
Everybody good? We're good. Everybody good?
Anybody hit?
I'm good. Move in the cup and secure the dog.
I don't know.
I got a firearm.
1991, are you out there?
Anybody call it out yet?
I'm good. I called shots fired. Let's cuff him up.
Yeah, gloves. H9 they have EMS en route. Good breathing.
I can't talk to you.
Still moving. Alright, we gotta get him on his back. His back. SO has EMS en route. Yeah. 6 is secured, the shots fired. Well, I have 161.
I'll go get him. I'll go get him. There's a hand on the butt of it. There's a hand over here.
We have 161. Goes on 6.
I couldn't talk to you. You have a 61?
Right here.
Correct.
Lieutenant John is coming in.
All right. All right.
What do you guys want with this firearm? I unloaded it at the least.
Once the shooting stopped, deputies moved in, placed him in handcuffs, and attempted to render medical aid. Despite those efforts, Pegram was pronounced dead at the scene. After the incident, officers recovered a firearm from a holster on Pegram's person. The weapon was secured, rendered safe, and later documented and collected by agents from the Ohio Bureau of Criminal Investigation. The scene was turned over for further investigation, marking the end of a pursuit that began as a traffic stop and ended in a fatal confrontation deep in the woods. In this video, we are looking at a very strange event caught on a door camera outside an apartment complex in Southern California. Jose Gonzalez shared the footage, which was recorded by a family friend. At first, the scene looks like a typical quiet night in the suburbs. However, something absolutely bizarre emerges from the darkness under the stairs. A tiny mysterious figure walking upright on 2 legs appears out of nowhere. As a resident walks past the area, the small creature presses its body flat against the wall, as if it's desperately trying to stay hidden from view. The figure is wearing what looks like a tiny robe or a dark cloak. Its movements are described as being eerily similar to a human, yet it's far too small to be a person. After the woman passes by, the figure quickly slips between the steps and vanishes into the shadows. Jose believes this might be a duende, which is a legendary creature from Latin American folklore known for hiding in the corners of buildings. I feel terrible for the woman in the video because she had no idea that something so unsettling was crouching just inches away from her. This is why I always use a swift motion to get inside my house at night. Whether this is a physical animal or something paranormal is a somber mystery that has left many viewers completely baffled. It was just past 5 p.m. on November 4th, 2025 in Louisville, Kentucky. The sky looked normal, but things were about to take a dark turn. Thousands of people at the UPS Worldport hub were busy getting planes ready for the night. One of those planes was UPS Flight 2976. This MD-11 fighter was scheduled for a routine trip to Dallas-Fort Worth. On board were 3 very experienced crew members. These veterans knew the heavy cargo and the precision needed for the flight. The plane moved slowly across the ground as the engines hummed. Controllers gave the all-clear for takeoff on runway 17R. At first, the climb was smooth, then a massive mechanical roar broke the silence. In this video, you can see the moment the disaster begins.
Ебать, все загорело.
¡Oh my God!
Ay,
¡Corre
pinga.
para atrás, papi! ¿Viste? Te lo estoy diciendo, Dios mío.
Security cameras from the area captured the plane pitching hard to the left. A strange glow appeared under the wing. Suddenly, a large piece of the jet broke away. The left engine had completely detached from the wing. The plane was only a few hundred feet up and moving at 150 knots. There was no time to fix the problem. The massive shadow of the jet banked low over buildings near the airport. Then came a blinding flash and a wall of fire. I feel terrible for the families of the 3 crew members who died. Several people on the ground lost their lives too. Warehouses and cars were swallowed by flames. Investigators found that a metal part called an engine pylon failed. This caused the engine to fall off mid-flight. UPS had to ground their entire MD-11 fleet after this. It's a scary reminder that even with modern technology, a few seconds can change everything. Residents in Dongguan, China were mid-card game when a rope fell from above and passed close to where they were sitting. Building management stated the cause was unauthorized nighttime construction. A worker had been fitting an air conditioning unit on an upper floor without authorization and had not properly secured the rope. Following the incident, management suspended the worker and announced that all staff would be required to observe standardized procedures from that point on. Nighttime construction in residential buildings without authorization or safety supervision is a documented category of incident risk, where the absence of site controls increases the likelihood of unsecured equipment and materials falling into occupied areas below. Wife swap operated on a premise built on contrast. 2 households with incompatible values would swap their respective mothers across a 2-week period, giving each family exposure to a way of life they had not chosen. By the end of each episode, both sides were meant to gain something from the experience. The 2008 episode featuring the Stockdales has since entered the record for reasons that had nothing to do with that format. The Stockdale family made their home on a farm in Beach City, Ohio. Their household was governed by deeply religious beliefs and strict rules applied to daily life. The children received their schooling at home. Dating was not permitted. Television and video games were prohibited, as was popular music. Any entertainment that fell outside those parameters was subject to monitoring. The family also performed together as the Stockdale Family Band, a bluegrass group whose members were the parents and the sons. On camera, Jacob Stockdale came across as quiet, reserved, and compliant.
Dating has physical dangers like pregnancy. It's not worth it.
I've never been on a date. There's better ways to find out about girls than dating.
The temporary mother assigned to the household was Lori Tonkovich. Her approach differed from the Stockdales. She held that children should be allowed to make small choices and experience ordinary freedoms.
God, I feel so sad for these kids. I'm gonna take him all home with me. I asked him what he would like to do if he could do anything, and he doesn't even know. I mean, they need to know that there's other ways of doing things, and then let them decide what they want to do. I didn't realize this was gonna be so hard.
She gave the boys access to video games and television not as a challenge to the household's rules, but as an exercise in moderation. Jacob's reaction was not curiosity. He panicked, ran outside, and was found crying, afraid that his parents would learn what had occurred. In a statement she later gave to TMZ, Lori Tonkovich described Jacob's belief that violating household rules would expose him to severe consequences, including what she characterized as eternal punishment.
Are afraid to go on a date because they think that means courting, and I have to get married. I really enjoyed you and your children, okay, but you?
Come on, get up. I need a cigarette.
No wonder they walk around like robots and talk like that.
I need a cigarette.
Talk about my kids. How dare.
June 15, 2017. Jacob Stockdale was 25. Police say he shot Catherine Stockdale, his mother, age 54, inside the family farmhouse. Police also say he fatally shot James Stockdale, his younger brother, age 21, at the same location. Following the shootings, Jacob attempted to end his own life. he survived. Both Catherine and James died. Tim Stockdale, the father, was not in the home at the time. Two other sons were living elsewhere. Jacob was not charged at the time of the incident. His condition following the suicide attempt precluded immediate prosecution. He was placed in a psychiatric facility. He subsequently entered a not guilty plea on insanity grounds. The case did not advance for close to 3 years while evaluations of his mental competency were conducted. Throughout that period, no public account of a motive was established by investigators, and no clear motive was ever publicly identified. In 2021, Jacob Stockdale acknowledged committing the killings and entered a guilty plea. His sentence was 2 15-year to life terms to run concurrently. That sentence is being served at an Ohio prison. He is 33 years old. The legal proceedings for the case produced no publicly stated motive for the killings. What the 2008 footage does contain, in Lori Tonkovich's own attributed account to TMZ, is documentation of a household in which minor infractions carried what Jacob reportedly believed were consequences of a severe and absolute nature, up to and including what Lori characterized as eternal punishment. Whether what was documented about the household environment in that 2008 episode was examined as potential context within the proceedings, and whether its absence from the public record of the legal case represents an absence of established relevance or an absence of disclosed findings, is a question that the official case record does not answer. In Anello, Argentina, a sand truck's trailer broke free on a curve and crossed into the oncoming lane, toppling over. A minibus transporting oil workers was in that lane. A passenger on the minibus reported that the trailer had nearly fallen directly onto their vehicle. The quick reaction of the minibus driver is credited with keeping the outcome from being worse. The truck driver sustained minor injuries. Trailer detachments on curves are a documented road incident category, typically resulting from coupling failure or improper load securing, with the risk of the detached unit crossing into oncoming traffic determined by road geometry and vehicle speed. By 2014, the television program Cops had been continuously airing for well over 2 decades, establishing it as one of the longest-running reality series in American broadcast history. The show followed law enforcement in real time, officers responding to calls, making arrests, and handling situations as they unfolded. On Tuesday, August 26, 2014, a Cops production crew was in its final week embedded with the Omaha Police Department, having worked alongside the department from June of that year. That evening at approximately 9:20 p.m., Detective Darren Cunningham was dispatched to an active robbery at a Wendy's downtown Omaha, Nebraska. He called for additional units. 2 more officers arrived. In one of those patrol cars rode 2 Cops crew members, a cameraman, Michael Lee, and sound technician, Bryce Dion. Officers approached and entered the building. 2 came in via the front door, a third proceeded to the emergency exit at the rear. The production crew followed. Inside was Cortez Washington, 32, armed and present in the space. He initially did not notice the officers. When they announced themselves and ordered him to the floor, he did not comply. Instead, he raised what resembled a handgun and fired. Witnesses inside the restaurant stated that Washington directed fire at officers. Witnesses described seeing the slide cycle and reported hearing a minimum of 2 shots. Officers returned fire. Washington continued discharging the weapon and moving through the space even as rounds struck him. He advanced toward the exit, weapon in hand. Officers continued firing. Sound technician Bryce Dion sustained a gunshot from police fire during the exchange. He had been positioned close to the entrance hallway, holding a boom microphone overhead to capture audio. He was wearing a bulletproof vest, but the round entered through an unprotected section under his left arm. He fell beside his equipment. Dion and Washington were both transported to the University of Nebraska Medical Center. He was declared dead at the facility not long after arrival. Washington died outside in the parking area, having sustained multiple gunshot wounds. Investigators confirmed afterward that Washington's weapon was an airsoft pistol, an object designed to replicate the appearance of a handgun but capable only of discharging plastic pellets. The officers had no means of making that determination at the time. Washington carried a significant criminal record. He was serving parole out of Missouri, having completed a portion of a 7-year robbery sentence. In the 20 minutes prior to the Wendy's incident, his girlfriend Geneva Ayres, 24, had robbed a Little Caesars restaurant using that same airsoft pistol. Washington had operated her getaway vehicle. The plan at the Wendy's was his robbery. Geneva was to help him exit. When shooting began inside the building, she fled. She was arrested subsequently. While awaiting trial, she attacked a healthcare worker and broke a correctional officer's hand. She accepted a plea and was sentenced to up to 6 years. Bryce Dion's brother Trevor brought a wrongful death action against Omaha. The lawsuit alleged that police dispatched and the officers who responded had failed to coordinate adequately, and contended that embedding a television crew with active duty officers during a robbery response constituted negligence. The footage was made public. It documented officers entering the restaurant, the eruption of gunfire, and Bryce Dion against the wall motionless. Investigators confirmed the weapon Washington raised and fired was an airsoft pistol, a device incapable of discharging live ammunition. That finding establishes a fact about the object in his hand. What it does not establish is what the officers could have known in the interval before the slide cycled and the shots were heard. The weapon's external appearance was designed to be indistinguishable from a real handgun. The subject raised it, pointed it, and discharged it in the direction of officers. Whether the confirmed post-incident finding that the weapon was a replica changes the standard by which the officers' decisions are evaluated, given that nothing observable in the moment could have indicated otherwise, is a question the finding itself does not resolve. A 20-year-old former student walked into high school in Pauls Valley, Oklahoma, carrying 2 pistols. Principal Kirk Moore identified the threat and moved toward the gunman. During the confrontation, Moore was shot in his lower right leg but still brought the gunman to the ground. The assistant principal moved in to secure the weapon and held the gunman down until law enforcement reached the scene. Court documents state that the former student told detectives he had planned a Columbine-inspired attack and that the principal had been the intended target. Moore was transported to hospital. He was described as alert, and his condition was reported as stable. Police confirmed all students were unharmed. The former student was charged with opening fire with the intent to kill. Bond was set at $1 million. He entered a not guilty plea. School principals and administrators are included in active shooter response training protocols in many U.S. school districts, with recommended responses varying between lockdown procedures and, in some training frameworks, physical intervention.
There's no greater bond than that between a parent and child. A connection that begins at birth and grows stronger over time. But what happens when that bond is broken?
I was adopted when I was 6 weeks old. And the records were closed. It was through a welfare agency that I was adopted.
Separated a lifetime from one another, does the bond between parent and child still exist?
In 2005, Fox broadcast a reality special on its main network under the title Who's Your Daddy? The format borrowed structural elements from The Bachelor, a mansion setting and a staged elimination process, but the central premise operated on an entirely different basis. A young woman who had been adopted in childhood was situated in a mansion with 8 middle-aged men. One man was her actual biological father. The other 7 were hired to portray that role convincingly. She was required to determine which man was truly her father. Correct identification earned her $100,000. If she selected the wrong man, one of the imposters, he received the prize instead. This arrangement gave every actor a direct financial incentive to deceive her as effectively as possible. One clip from the broadcast remains in circulation. In it, a man looks directly at her and says, "I want you to know that you were conceived in absolute love." She cried in response.
Your mother didn't want her pregnancy to be the way our relationship, our marriage started. It was a very turbulent time. I'd already made the decision to go into Vietnam. We weren't sure what was going to happen, and she wasn't going to be able to take care of you by herself. And so she made the decision, and I accepted it. We questioned it, believe me, we...
So she wanted to keep me too, honestly?
Yes. I want you to know you were conceived in absolute love, and I loved your mother very, very much. There wasn't a day that went by that I didn't think about you and regret what we did.
The man was subsequently identified as an actor. Adoption advocacy organizations and charities condemned the show. According to those organizations, the search for biological identity, a process with documented psychological significance for adoptees, had been made into entertainment through emotional deception and financial manipulation. The response from the public was swift. Fox canceled the series. 5 episodes had already been filmed. They were not broadcast on the main network and were later distributed through Fox reality channel with minimal promotion. By 2009, VH1 had built a programming block around series including Rock of Love, Flavor of Love, and I Love Money, a statement made by Megan Hauserman, a former contestant on Rock of Love, that she intended to marry a wealthy man became the premise for a new program, Megan Wants a Millionaire. 17 men competed for her, each declaring assets of at least $1 million. 3 episodes were broadcast.
There's a big suitcase, so I took my middle finger and I just lifted up, and sure enough, it looks like a body.
It's for sure a body?
Yeah, yeah.
The suitcase was recovered from a dumpster in Buena Park, California on August 15, 2009. The suitcase contained the body of Jasmine Fiore, 28, a swimsuit model who had recently relocated from Las Vegas to Los Angeles. The remains showed severe mutilation. Her fingers and teeth had been removed. Strangulation was established as the cause of death. The body had been placed in the suitcase and discarded. Standard identification methods proved insufficient. Investigators ultimately located a serial number associated with her breast implants to confirm the victim was Jasmine Fiore, who had been reported missing hours before. A contestant on the program, Ryan Jenkins, had presented himself to producers as a real estate professional. After being eliminated from the competition, Jenkins met Jasmine Fiore in Las Vegas. They were married within days. Reports described a volatile relationship, episodes of intense conflict, jealousy, and earlier incidents of physical violence. By the time of her death, the two had separated and come back together on multiple occasions. On August 14th, Jenkins and Fiore checked into the L'Auberge Del Mar Hotel in San Diego for a charity poker event. Security camera footage documented them departing together from the hotel at approximately 2:30 a.m. Additional footage placed them at a nightclub in the downtown area. At around 4:30 a.m., Jenkins re-entered the hotel alone. Jasmine Fiore was not seen alive again. He checked out the following morning. That evening, Jenkins reported her missing, stating according to his account that she had gone to run errands and not come back. Official identification of Fiore's remains occurred on August 18th. On August 19th, VH1 took the series off its schedule. Murder charges were filed against Jenkins on August 20th. VH1 removed all references to the program from its website. A second production Jenkins had appeared in, I Love Money Free, was canceled and likewise never broadcast. Jenkins left Los Angeles. He collected a speedboat from Nevada and traveled north. His BMW was found parked and abandoned at the Blaine, Washington Marina, the engine still warm. The vehicle's condition indicated that he had only recently arrived at that location. Investigators concluded he had crossed into Canada by water. Jenkins registered at the Thunderbird Motel in Hope, British Columbia on August 20th. The same day charges were filed. Witnesses at the property later stated he appeared exhausted and could not be recognized as the person seen on television. 3 days after his arrival, the motel's manager opened his door and discovered him dead.
My heart and love for her was pure and powerful. It took over every thought and action. It inspired me, it drove me, and brought out the very best in me.
According to his father, Dan Jenkins, there was a lot of good in Ryan, but it had been corrupted.
Ryan was a fine young man. He was smart. He was kind. He was sweet. He was innocent. He went to Hollywood, and something down there in the last 4 months, including this girl, just destroyed him.
A subsequent inquiry into the casting process confirmed that Jenkins had a prior record of violent behavior. In 2007, he had been convicted of assault. In early 2009, a separate charge of assault, specifically against Jasmine Fiore, had been filed against him in Las Vegas. Neither VH1 nor 51 Minds had performed any criminal background screening during the casting process for Megan Wants a Millionaire. Both of those charges, the 2007 assault conviction and the 2009 charge involving Jasmine Fiore specifically, were part of a documented legal record accessible through standard screening procedures. VH1 and 51 Minds confirmed that no such screening was performed. The question that confirmation raises is not whether background checks are routinely conducted in production settings, but what the decision not to run one established about the production's awareness of the person's place on screen, and whether that absence of screening reflects a procedural failure, indifference to what it might return, or a decision to remain uninformed. On April 16, 2026, a fuel tanker caught fire during unloading at a filling station in Hakka, Syria. The driver moved the burning vehicle clear of the station with the aim of preventing an explosion. As the tanker traveled away, fuel leaked and ignited along the road. 11 vehicles along with the bus were destroyed. Syria's news agency reported 7 injuries, all described as minor. Authorities opened an investigation into what caused the fire. Moving a burning fuel tanker from a populated refueling area is a documented emergency response consideration, where the risk of stationary ignition near fuel storage is weighed against the risk of fuel spillage during transit. Nancy Campbell Panitz had consented to take part in the Jerry Springer program. She was informed the episode would reunite her with her ex-husband, Ralph Panitz. The woman he had been seeing would also be present. She left the stage during filming. In the weeks that followed, on the same day the episode reached broadcast, she was discovered dead. Panitz had gone to a residence. A restraining order had recently been issued against him at her request. He struck and strangled her. That episode had reached millions of viewers, none of them aware at the time that she had already been killed. Panitz was taken into custody, prosecuted, and found guilty of the killing. He received a life sentence. At the sentencing hearing, the judge offered a formal criticism of the program, assigning responsibility to Panitz, Jerry Springer, and the production team. According to the judge's statement at sentencing, the show bore shared culpability for what had occurred. Nancy's son Jeffrey pursued legal action against both Springer and the production company behind the series, contending she had been put at risk and exploited. That case was later withdrawn, with no monetary compensation changing hands. Springer's death came in 2023, roughly 5 years following the program's cancellation. In early 2015, a production company began filming a survival-based reality program in Argentina titled Dropped. The format required elite athletes to be blindfolded and transported via helicopter to isolated locations, where they were left for 72 hours with no maps, no food, and no external assistance. The only path back to civilization being their own navigation, using survival instincts alone. Production filming was divided between the Patagonia region and the La Rioja mountain area of northwest Argentina. The cast of 8 competitors comprised 7 athletes representing France and 1 from Switzerland, including Camille Muffet, an Olympic swimmer, Alexis Vastine, an Olympic boxer, and Florence Arthod, a sailor. Filming began near Ushuaia in late February 2015. The first episode wrapped by early March. 1 competitor had been eliminated at that point. On March 9th, the production crew prepared an aerial camera shot. 2 helicopters carrying contestants and crew took off around 5:15 p.m. Both aircraft rose together. 1 helicopter ascended at greater speed and crossed into the flight path of the adjacent aircraft. The 2 collided. Both came down and caught fire. Among those killed were 3 French athletes, a pair of Argentine pilots, and 5 members of the production team. 10 deaths in total. The athletes who remained on the ground witnessed the collision. A period of national mourning was declared in France. Among those who died were Camille Muffet, an Olympic gold medalist from the 2012 London Games, Alexis Vastine, an Olympic bronze medalist believed to be at the highest point of his athletic development, and Florence Arthod, recognized as pioneering in the field of competitive sailing. France's TF1 network deferred its complete summer broadcast slate. Adventure Line Productions issued a statement confirming that no footage would be released. Cancellation came before a single episode was broadcast. Investigators identified 2 questions arising from the crash: why the 2 helicopters had been positioned at such close range to each other, and why the aerial configuration was selected for a camera shot. The 2 helicopters rose in parallel, one pulling ahead and veering into the adjacent craft's path, a formation maintained in service of a production camera shot. Whether the risk profile of that configuration was evaluated before the helicopters lifted off, and what criteria governed the decision to position 2 crewed aircraft at that proximity for a production image is what the official investigation left unanswered. On April 7, 2026, at an event venue in Kapur, India, a wedding ceremony was taking place. A man operated a lift on the 3rd floor to bring down wood logs. According to sources, the lift had been installed on a temporary basis, and the wood was needed for cooking. Gas cylinders were in short supply. The cable snapped and the man fell. He was the groom's brother and survived with serious injuries. The venue was placed under investigation by authorities for safety violations. Temporary lifting equipment installed without formal safety certification at event venues is a documented category of incident risk, where the absence of load testing and structural inspection increases the likelihood of cable or mechanism failure. Fishermen had gathered at a pier when a fishing rod slipped from their hands and dropped into the water. The most immediate solution appeared straightforward. One man descended into the water to recover it. From his vantage point at surface level, nothing appeared to indicate a threat. The water was calm. No disturbance was visible in his immediate vicinity. What he could not account for was the perspective of the men still standing above him.
I got it. No, I'm going to the stairs.
Mark, you need to get to the steps. Just start swimming to the steps.
What?
Mark, get to the steps. Start swimming there.
What is it?
Mark, just get to the steps.
Great white sharks are documented to approach structures such as piers and jetties, where shade and bait fish concentration can attract them to positions directly beneath platforms, making them difficult to detect from surface-level observation until they move into open water. Those on the pier had a view looking down into the water column. From that elevated position, they could see what the man below could not. The shark was a great white, and it was present in the water below. He, at water level, had no line of sight to it. The visibility differential between a surface observer and a person in the water is a documented factor in shark encounter scenarios, where a person at water level has a significantly more limited field of view than someone with elevation looking down into the water column. The man above directed him urgently toward the steps and instructed him to exit the water and get out without delay. His response to their instructions, as captured in the footage, was initially out of confusion. He had no apparent reason to understand the basis for their alarm.
How did you not say that?
Despite the confusion, the urgency transmitted through their voices was sufficient. He moved toward the steps and exited the water without injury. According to the account of the friends who had been above him, the shark may have been stationed under the jetty structure prior to the man's entry into the water. That is their attributed account, not independently confirmed by the footage itself. What the footage does confirm is a sequential observation. The shark did not become visible to those on the pier until after the man had already entered the water.
Well, if you saw it, then why did I jump in?
No, we saw it after you jumped in. Like it must have been under the jetty and then came out or something.
The friend's account raises a specific question about the moment of entry. If the shark was already beneath the jetty before the man descended, as they have attributed, then this decision to enter was made without any awareness of what the water contained at that point. The footage confirms that the shark was not visible to those above until after entry had already occurred. What that confirmed sequence cannot establish is whether the shark's presence would have been detectable before entry by any means available to the people on the pier, or whether the moment of entry and the moment of first visibility were separated by more than the time it took the shark to move into view. Inside a tunnel in Guangdong, China, a car came to a sudden stop. The truck traveling directly behind had to respond fast. No injuries were reported. The car was displaying a learner sticker. The driver was fined and lost 9 points from their license. Sudden braking in tunnels presents a heightened rear collision risk due to reduced stopping distances, limited visibility, and the confined space, reducing a following driver's ability to maneuver. In December 2017, in Prachuap Khiri Khan, Thailand, a radio operator named Manorang Nolan, 32 years old, was making his way from the office back to his car that morning. He was looking at his phone as he walked. From that position, with his eyes angled downward, he had no awareness of what was in the infrastructure directly overhead. An electrical box directly overhead then exploded. Sparks discharged above him. The wires above collapsed in close proximity to his position. He jumped clear and was unharmed. Reports attributed the explosion to an electrical fault. In those same reports, the wire melting in the area is listed as believed to result from overheating. Local rainfall may have contributed to the conditions that led to the failure. Overhead electrical infrastructure in urban and semi-urban environments is a documented failure risk during periods of heavy rainfall, or water ingress into electrical boxes and thermal stress from overheating can cause rapid insulation breakdown. The footage captures this in real time. Nolan is mid-walk, phone in hand, approaching the area directly below the equipment. The explosion happens above him, the sparks and the wires following within moments. He reacts to what's around him and moves away from the area. The whole event plays out over a couple of seconds. Nolan walked away from the incident unharmed. The cause, according to the available reporting, was electrical, an infrastructure failure rather than anything he could have detected in advance. In our region, Panama, a traffic dispute developed between a bus driver and a car driver while the bus was in operation. The car driver produced a firearm and fired at least 3 rounds into the bus. The bus driver was injured, as was a passenger aboard. Police tracked down the vehicle involved, but the shooter remained at large at the time of reporting. Traffic disputes escalating to firearm use represent a documented category of road rage incident, with bus and commercial vehicle drivers identified as a recurring target group due to their fixed routes and limited ability to maneuver away from a confrontation. On October 27, 2018, a match at King Power Stadium in Leicester City had just concluded. Fans were moving away from the stadium. Inside the ground, Leicester City's owner, Vichai Srivadanaprabha, had begun its departure preparations. Vichai was a billionaire businessman. His association with Leicester City was established by what the club achieved under his ownership. He had invested in the organization and led it through a period that culminated in the 2016 Premier League title, a result that placed the club among the most improbable champions in the history of the competition. That evening, he boarded his personal helicopter along with 4 others, Norsara Sugnamai, Kaviporn Punpare, the aircraft's pilot Eric Swaffer, and Isabella Rosa Lekowicz, 5 in total. The aircraft departed from the pitch, a procedure that had taken place on multiple prior occasions following matches at the ground. For those in the surrounding area, it would have been a recognizable sight. What happened next was not. Shortly after the aircraft left the ground, it began to rotate. The movement did not resemble a controlled turn. Within moments, the rotation became faster and more pronounced, and the aircraft moved beyond the stadium perimeter as the spinning continued to accelerate. It came down in a park immediately adjacent to the ground. The aircraft caught fire on impact. The 5 people aboard the aircraft did not survive: Vichai Srivanadaprabha, Nursara Sugnamai, Kaviporn Punpare, pilot Eric Swaffer, and Isabel Rosa Lekowicz.
Yeah. No, mate, you doing that? Come down. Yeah, I saw it. I was just sitting in my car, eh? I was just sitting here. I tried to get in there, but I couldn't see anyone. Even the pilot was out of his seat. Just stay back, please.
Yeah, sure.
In the hours directly following the crash, supporters gathered outside King Power Stadium. Handwritten messages, flowers, scarves, and shirts were left the location by those present. The crash investigation conducted by official investigators identified the causes of failure within the tail's rotor control system of the aircraft. The tail rotor on a rotorcraft generates a lateral thrust that counteracts the torque produced by the main rotor. Without operational tail rotor control, the fuselage begins to rotate freely in the direction opposite to the main rotor spin, and the pilot loses the ability to arrest or direct that rotation. According to the official investigation, the tail rotor's control system suffered a mechanical failure, causing the pilot to lose the ability to manage the aircraft's rotation. That loss of control produced the uncontrolled spin documented in the footage. The footage itself contains a specific and separately confirmed detail. Something is visible separating from the aircraft before the uncontrolled rotation began. This is a confirmed observation from the footage. Some reports reviewing the same recording identified what appeared in the footage as tail rotor sections that had separated in midair, an interpretation attributed to those reports and not independently confirmed by the official investigation's published conclusions. Years after the incident, Vichai's family filed a civil legal claim of £21.5 billion against Leonardo, the manufacturer of the helicopter. Leonardo denied any wrongdoing and stated that it would defend the case in court. The footage and the investigative record present 2 distinct confirmed points: something visibly separated from the aircraft before the rotation began, and investigators attributed the crash to a mechanical failure within the tail rotor's control system, a component whose internal mechanics are not directly observable in external footage. What the official investigation does not publicly specify is whether the separation visible in the footage represents the outward expression of the internal failure investigators identified, or whether the 2 events occupy different positions in a causal sequence. The footage shows something leaving the aircraft. The investigation identifies a failure within an internal mechanism. What the official record does or does not confirm about the connection between those 2 observations, whether the visible separation was the initiating cause, a downstream consequence, or a simultaneous occurrence, is not established by the footage alone. In Stewartville, Minnesota, 2 women and their dogs headed to the basement seconds before tornadoes struck their home. The ceiling collapsed right where they had been sitting moments earlier. Multiple tornadoes hit the region, causing major damage to dozens of homes and displacing residents. Olmsted County issued a disaster declaration and there were no reports of injuries. Check out the unwise decision made by this individual.
Betul. Anjing. Tujuan tam ya Bang Pi. Kudunya pakai dompet anjing. Enggak makan aku satu biji mati kita Bang.
Indonesia is home to numerous hornet and wasp species. The country's tropical climate and dense forest cover create conditions suitable for year-round nesting across multiple species, with colonies frequently established near human activity. Both are known for aggressive nest defense. When a nest is disturbed, alarm pheromones are released, prompting the colony to respond as a unit, with multiple individuals delivering repeated stings to the perceived threat. Unlike bees, hornets and wasps retain the ability to sting more than once. In December 2022, a TikTok user going by the name Harley Quinn posted footage from her Ring doorbell camera that showed her neighbor at 2:45 a.m. rolling what appeared in the footage to be a body wrapped in black plastic bags, while also carrying a shovel. The video spread quickly. It was viewed over 32 million times, and a significant portion of the viewers pushed her to contact the police. She notified authorities the following day. When they arrived, statements were likely gathered from both parties. What followed was not straightforward. In the days after the police visit, the neighbor began coming to Harley's door at any hour, including after 1 a.m. Whether the police had disclosed Harley's identity to the neighbor or whether the neighbor had simply come across the viral footage on their own remains unconfirmed.
Hey, I'm here. I'm here. I'm not rolled up in a plastic bag.
Yeah. That's cool. That's the same you don't have order with.
Yes, we did.
Ma'am, we are eating dinner right now, so if you could please stop knocking on the door.
I'm gonna have to call the police myself, and I'm gonna call my lawyer tomorrow. Because this is unnecessary. It's got this is where it came from, right here.
Harley was eventually told the object in the footage was a rug, but that explanation did not come from law enforcement. It was not officially confirmed. Viewers were skeptical. One commenter asked directly, "Did the cops confirm that it was just a rug?" Based on the public record, no such confirmation existed. Then the neighbor was taken into custody on a charge separate from anything in the footage. No official statement about the bag's contents accompanied that development. Harley posted a final update. In her own words, "I'm alive, thanks for those that asked. I sincerely do think it was a rug. It was a shovel and rake that made me question it. I've had to make every one of my social media accounts private and lock it all down for safety reasons. I no longer feel safe leaving my apartment because of all the attention that this has brought on myself and my family. I've been receiving threats and people wishing me ill for posting this. I can't say much at the moment other than everyone is okay. There could be illegalities involved, so I can't give a true update at this point in time." Harley was a target of online harassment and doxing, a confirmed outcome of posting the footage. The neighbor's arrest on a separate charge is confirmed. Law enforcement never publicly identified what was in the bag. What the arrest establishes is that the neighbor had legal exposure beyond this footage. What it does nothing to resolve is whether the confirmed absence of any official statement about the bag's contents reflects an absence of concern, or whether the confirmed arrest record gives that silence a different weight. Dashcam footage in the mountains captured something insane. Keep watching.
Я тебе говорил, я не газую на спуск. Не пугай так. Моргай, 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 моргай. Тормози, тормози. Моргай, 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 моргай. Мама, мама. Аккуратно, аккуратно. Аккуратно, аккуратно, аккуратно. Тормоза, тормоза. Старайся на обочину, выйди, на обочину. Что делать? На обочину. Моргай, 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 моргай. Моргай, моргай, моргай. Ахмед, что делать, Ахмед? Моргай, моргай, моргай. Моргай, моргай. Что делать, Ахмед? Моргай. Ахмед, что делать? Моргай, моргай, моргай.
The video captures a small truck whose braking system has failed. At several points in the recording, the driver can be heard engaging the handbrake. The attempts are audible, but it produces no effect. With the brakes out and the road running downhill, the truck picks up speed as it descends. The driver works to maintain control and steer the vehicle through the situation with no functional braking available. Total brake failure on a descending road is a documented risk for heavy vehicles, where the combination of gravity and mass generates progressive acceleration, leaving the driver with fewer response options as speed builds. The footage does not show what happened after. On January 25th, 2025, a TikTok user called Living Testimony was in the middle of a live stream during a dog walk when the encounter captured in this clip took place. Living Testimony regularly posts content about the dogs he takes for walks. The dog on this particular walk was Brody, a dog he had walked 7 times before this incident. During the walk, a man approached him. The man, who had a loaded weapon, directed Living Testimony to remain where he stood and asked, "Do you have any pictures of my cat I need to be aware of?" The man appeared, based on the footage shows, to be Brody's owner. The footage showed Living Testimony visibly caught off guard by the encounter. He had walked Brody on 7 prior occasions without any such confrontation.
They meant to be free just like us, man. I'm just out here trying to unleash joy one wag at a time, baby. One wag at a time. We just out here unleashing joy, you know. You know, you can have your dog as happy as Mr. Brody right here, man. Mr. Brody's a happy dog. What's up now? Huh? Yeah, I'm a dog walker. Yeah, I'm the dog walker. Oh, okay. What's going on, sir? He has a gun out on me, y'all. Yes, sir. I'm your dog walker, sir. Okay. Yes, sir. Yeah, I came a little early today. Go, Brody. Yes, sir. I did. The cat was inside, yeah. Nah, it was running around. It followed me around. Yeah. No, I do not. What's going on, sir? Yeah, I mean, I've been providing service for you every day now. Huh? I'm providing service for you though, sir. Yeah, I'm providing service for you. I mean, it ain't about the tip. I'm canceling this. Yeah, I hopefully y'all seeing this, man. Hopefully y'all seeing this, man. Hopefully y'all seeing this. This got to be reported. It's the last time I'm providing service for this guy. Put a gun out on me, man.
Following the encounter, living testimony stated he had decided not to walk Brody again. He posted no further update on the matter in subsequent videos. In the comment section, viewers speculated that the man may have been going through some kind of mental health episode. That interpretation comes from viewer commentary, not from anything confirmed in the footage. One viewer specifically noted that the man did not attempt to de-escalate until he appeared to notice the live streaming camera was recording. That viewer observation raises a specific question about the encounter. The footage captures a behavioral shift. The man's approach changed once he became aware of the camera. What that shift does not confirm is whether the recording itself prevented the situation from escalating, or whether the man's de-escalation was already underway for reasons the footage does not show. Daladia, Bangladesh is a ferry crossing situated along the Padma River, approximately 100 kilometers 62 miles west of Dhaka. The Padma is among Bangladesh's largest rivers and carries a strong current. At Daladia, buses and trucks load onto ferries via sloped ramps and floating platforms. Ferry loading ramps and floating platforms in high-current river environments present a documented vehicle stability risk, where sloped surfaces, water movement beneath the platform, and vehicle weight distribution can compromise traction during boarding. In this incident, a bus was on one of these ramps or platforms during the loading process. Either the bus slipped or control was lost by the driver. The cause is not confirmed beyond that. The bus went over the edge and descended to a depth of approximately 9 meters or 30 feet. Water entered the interior rapidly through windows and doors alike. The current made it difficult for those inside to exit. The passenger death toll was at least 24. Some were able to get out of the bus and reach the surface. On March 30th, 2026, TikTok user The Livster posted about a situation she had been dealing with since moving into her new apartment. Shortly after she moved in, an older man knocked on her door and asked, "Do you live alone here?" Within days, the same man moved into the unit directly opposite her own. What she documented from that point includes the man going through her packages, interfering with her doorbell camera, and positioning himself at his front door to initiate contact with her.
Dude who lives right in front of me, and he's like, "Hey, I'm yada yada yada. I'm looking to move into this neighborhood possibly. Like, like, are there dogs here? And I was like, dude, I don't know, like, I am fresh off the boat, like, I just moved here. And whatever, so fast forward straight, he randomly goes like, oh, you're a very attractive, beautiful woman, like, do you live here alone? And like, I had a boyfriend at the time, so, you know, I was lying out of my ass. I was like, no, like, my boyfriend lives here. Anyway, it's like probably 2 weeks later, maybe less, and somehow the dude's already moving in soon. So I had like 2 or 3 female neighbors like in the same complex, like this is a condo, that came knocking on my door and they were like, hey, this dude that's moving right in front of you, he is like a creep. He's been kicked out of multiple bars for flirting with young women. And I was like,
According to her account, he also appeared to be keeping track of when she had visitors. She responded by documenting everything as it happened and eventually began running back and forth between her car and her door to avoid any interaction.
I was wondering if you had a small drill. Anybody home? Never supposed to pay? $230? No Super Bowl parties. No, not too funny. Oh, okay. No, she's a cutie.
She's nice.
Yeah.
If I was only younger.
Well, I'll tell you what. She has a boyfriend.
So don't we all have fucking boyfriends and girlfriends?
I'll tell you what, he's really... What?
Nick?
Nick?
Yeah.
If you ever need anything, hesitate. Because I saw your car didn't move for a while and I didn't know if you were okay or sick or what.
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, I was just concerned, that's all.
Thanks.
All right, have a good day. Wow. C'est la vie.
According to her final update, a neighbor intervened and told the man to stop approaching her. She also filed a police report. She subsequently moved to a different residence. She documented each of these behaviors as they occurred, a record she built in real time. With that documented record established was a pattern she could describe and present. What the police report and the neighbor's intervention together confirm is that both official and social channels were engaged. The question those two responses leave open is what each channel was actually equipped to address and whether the documented record changed what either one could do. This footage is from 1971 and captures something truly insane. Take a look. Amchitka Island in Alaska was the site of the underground detonation of a nuclear device rated at 5 megatons. The explosion formed a large cavity in the rock below, and the energy it released sent a powerful shockwave upward through the ground. When that wave reached the surface, it drove the ground upward at a rate exceeding gravitational acceleration, producing a brief interval of effective weightlessness at the surface lasting a few seconds. Underground nuclear tests conducted at sufficient depth are designed to contain the explosion below the surface, but energy transmitted through rock as a seismic wave can produce ground motion detectable at significant distances, with the area directly above the detonation point experiencing the most intense vertical acceleration. The test site was remote and well instrumented. Nobody in the surface was injured. On March 11, 2026, a father in Florida contacted police about his ex-wife. The report was not the first he had filed against her for harassment. He had moved on and was in a new relationship. He continued to share custody of his children with his ex-wife. According to his statement to the officer, the harassment had been escalating. The previous night, he received more than 17 incoming calls from his ex-wife, along with 9 voicemails, all timed around 2 a.m.
All right, do me a favor and play them. Just because I have what you sent me and I'll submit those already, but just to put them on camera, yeah.
You heard wanted to myself and help,
Yeah.
right?
So 144 was when she started leaving voicemails?
This will, I believe, have been, yes, that's the first voicemail. These previous 2 did not.
Okay.
Oh, please for Mama. Please for Mom.
That was 145. This is 146. $47.
You married him back, and you wanted by yourself for your love. You are alive. You know that. You're alive. You're alive. You're alive.
You were with her for many years. You're positive that is her voice?
Yes.
Okay.
The responding officer documented the voicemails on her body camera, capturing each one of it as it played. That documentation confirmed the voicemails were unaltered, as recorded on the body camera. The voicemails appeared to increase in intensity as they continued.
I hope she gets some help from this. I hope that this leads to a good resolution, because it's my kids. You know, this is their mom. It's f***ing scary. It's 150. $151. It's $152. $152. This is $154. And that will have been the last voicemail.
And then those are still missed calls from her,
These
though?
are 2 more missed calls at 2:18. Yeah, and I don't see voicemails attached to those.
And nothing today?
No. I don't see anything else besides that after that.
Florida's stalking statute covers a documented pattern of conduct directed at a specific person that causes substantial emotional distress with the accumulation of calls, voicemails, and deleted communications, each representing elements of that documented pattern. Police also examined the ex-wife's phone. A review of that device found that communications from the previous night between the ex-wife and her former spouse had been deleted.
Gloves? I just...
Please, don't do it.
Tuesday. I got my gloves right now. I'll get it.
Gabby, I can't believe you did this to me. Everybody in these goddamn houses. It wasn't with you! Stop it! Yeah, you're f***ing taking me from my f***ing kids! squeezing my arm. Yes, she is.
Okay.
You're a unbelievable mother.
I got you.
Thank you. I trust
listen,
you.
Listen, before. Okay. Anything on you? Hurt me, poke me, stick me, anything?
Sir.
Anything on you I should know about? Any weapons, knives, anything like that?
Sir. I didn't do nothing wrong, sir.
I know, and I also know you're smart enough to understand that, like, at this point, like, you cannot do anything.
Why is she doing this?
She is not doing it personally.
But she knows I would never do something.
She just happens to be, you know what happened initially? She was helping somebody out by taking that call initially. And then she was stuck with it. It wasn't in her zone, it wasn't assigned to her. She helped somebody out and picked that call up. Okay, so it is not personal.
Please, sir, don't do this. I want to go, please.
Okay, your dad's talking to Jenna right now about, like, I don't know, about the kid situation right now.
My dad's old.
He's not that old.
Yes, he is. He's 70 years old. Something's going to happen to him, please.
Nothing's going to happen to him.
Yes, it is, please.
Like, what would happen to him?
He's going to have a fucking stroke. You guys are taking this little girl for no reason. Please don't do this.
Well, it's not, I don't know what happened yesterday, but
Nothing with me, sir,
I listened to the stuff that happened 2 weeks ago.
Based on the available evidence, she was arrested under Florida's stalking statute. When a tsunami warning is issued, a single minute delay can matter.
みるみる川の水位が上がり出すと、ついには道路に溢れ出しますが、事態が飲み込めません。この後、津波の様相は一変します。受信しました。長女が車に乗り込んだ次の瞬間、長女の車は流され、
Tsunamis don't move through the water the way a normal wave does. The first indication is typically a receding of the sea, and from that point, an initial wave can be at shore in fewer than 60 seconds across many locations. Tsunamis travel at velocities in the range of highway traffic in deep ocean at hundreds of kilometers per hour, before slowing as they enter shallower water, where energy compresses into heightened force rather than dissipating. Even a surge that looks small carries enough force to displace vehicles and destroy structures. What arrives is not a single wave but a continuous flood, and the water typically carries debris within it, increasing the destructive impact. This footage comes from a highway robbery in Los Angeles documented in 2024. Passing motorists slowed down and stopped to record what was happening. Their phone and dashcam footage represents the main documented record of the incident. Highway robbery incidents captured by passing motorists are a documented category of dashcam and phone footage where the filming behavior of witnesses is itself a noted feature of such events, often the primary source of footage available to investigators. No injuries, named individuals, or confirmed outcomes appear in the record of this incident. LaGuardia Airport is situated in the borough of Queens, New York City, adjacent to the East River. It is one of 3 principal airports serving the metropolitan area. This incident involved an Air Canada flight arriving from Montreal, Canada, and a fire truck that was present on the airfield. Airport emergency response vehicles are dispatched to active runways and taxiways under coordination with air traffic control, with ground vehicles operating in aircraft movement areas representing a documented category of runway incursion risk. The fire truck had been sent to the scene minutes before the collision. A separate aircraft in the vicinity had reported an unusual smell on board, triggering the emergency response. The Air Canada flight struck the fire truck. The collision resulted in 41 injuries. 31 of those injured were subsequently discharged from hospital. The remainder sustained more serious injuries. Both pilots aboard the Air Canada aircraft died. Caveman Hikes is a YouTube channel documented as dedicated to exploring extreme cave systems. This entry records an expedition in which the channel's team descended deep underground into one such system. Navigation underground followed the architecture of the cave itself. The team moved through narrow passages that restricted movement before opening into larger chambers further along. In those wider sections, the cave presented conditions that allowed for relatively unobstructed progress. The geology created space, the passages widened, and the team continued moving inward. The environment was not uniform, but the trajectory was clear. They were going deeper. That character of the environment changed. Water began to accumulate inside the cave. The conditions that had made the earlier sections traversable were no longer stable.
Here goes Cal. Up the waterfall. Yeah. Wow, it's not too bad. Yes. Up the waterfall we go. This is a tree cast that I'm crawling through, and the neat thing about this thing is the print on it is just really nice. It's a nice small one, so crawling through it will give you a little claustrophobia if you suffer from such conditions. So this is the transition from the erosional, or from the lava cave to the erosional cave, and this is done by sliding oneself under the lava ceiling, basalt, through this sandy floor to the pit of despair. Oscar disappeared down there so quickly. I just couldn't keep up because he's got to slip down in. And that's the way it is. Okay, let's see what we got ourselves into here. We call this the canyons. And this is where the water has eroded this cave all the way down to where there's almost nothing. I mean, where it's like 10, 12 feet deep.
Water accumulation in enclosed cave systems differs from surface flooding in that there is no elevation to seek. Drainage is limited to the cave's own natural channels, and the rate of rise is determined by external rainfall and hydrological conditions the cavers cannot observe from underground. With water present and rising, the team regrouped. Once together, they redirected their movement toward the exit. Time was a critical factor in that decision. The window for a passable route out was not fixed, and the hydrological forces driving the accumulation were entirely outside their ability to observe or predict from where they stood.
And it's raining outside, so this cave is filling up with water. If you ever wonder what it's like, what happens if it rains and the cave fills with water? That is happening in here right now. Yeah, we're with our tour cave tour guide. I don't know. We make up 90% of it. You have a map in your head, that's the problem.
Oh, yeah.
Your memory map.
I made the map.
Yeah. I knocked a couple big rocks down. I know that time.
Water is now turning the cavers away. They can gain passageway, but only if they are willing to swim. I volunteered to continue as far as I could through the flooded passage.
I'm gonna crawl out this water hole. That's the way it is. I don't know the way here. I know what I'm looking for. Ain't that way. Yeah, I gotta go down the creek. There is no other way. It is going to be waterworks.
Cave passages that are navigable when dry can become impassable within minutes once water begins moving through them, as the combination of current force, reduced airspace, and restricted visibility removes the options available to cavers to assess and react to changing conditions.
Woo! That's pretty cold. That is gonna have to be okay. I can get to the side here a bit of these rapids. And then it's just a pool of water. It's a big swimming pool in here. It's certainly interesting.
As the floodwaters rise, a caver must make a rush through the water tunnel in hopes of reaching higher ground before the passage is sealed off completely, battling both cold temperatures and the possibility of getting stuck underwater. I prepare to make a dash for it.
Oop, there it is. I see him. I'm out! Okay. Trying to keep the flashlights above the water too, although everything I have today is waterproof. Except for the battery in my pocket, but it's in a couple plastic bags. Did it survive? You know, that seems like a 50-50 proposition. Okay, now I'm through the ponding, and now there's a little bit of water up here I still gotta just commit to. Whoa, that's really something. My gear worked good though, my minimal gear. I have my flashlight set up a little bit differently. You know, just however it turned out is how it turned out, but I feel like it carried well. I was able to hold this. My left arm is getting real buffed from holding the GoPro in such a way. So after this, there's no more squeezes. It's the canyons, and then back to the surface where it's freezing outside. So a nice cold, high cold, and we be doing this, man.
The urgency with which they moved reflected the dynamics of the environment. A passage that remained open at one moment carried no assurance of remaining so in the next. Every second of progress toward the exit was a second taken, while the alternative, waiting, was actively degrading the available options. The cavers were navigating without current information on external conditions. They had no means of knowing whether the water was still rising or at what rate. The team did not wait to confirm how much further the accumulation would increase before committing to the exit. They moved while movement remained possible. Every member of the team exited the cave. The exit was completed before the water rendered the passages impassable. The footage records a specific sequence. Conditions shifted, the team regrouped, and they moved toward the exit with urgency while a navigable route remained. What that sequence establishes is the timing of the decision to exit. It was made while conditions were still passable. What it cannot establish is how close to impassable those conditions were at the moment the decision was made. The team exited safely. Whether the remaining margin was measured in minutes or in seconds when that movement began is not something the footage can confirm. This footage is from the UK. An elderly disabled man can be seen undertaking an unlawful attempt to remove his Indian tenant from the property, sawing through the door using an electric saw.
Stay back, I'm going to call the guards.
Yeah, go on.
Yeah, stay back.
Go on.
Just stay back, Thomas.
Sorry?
Just stay back.
No, this is my flat.
No, this is your place, but you cannot do this.
Go to hell.
No, just stay back.
Go to hell.
Stay back. Are you mad?
I am! I'm mad at you! I tried.
Are you mad?
I am! You think I wouldn't do it? I spit you open, you You got it?
Just stay back, I'm going to call the guards.
Call the guards?
Yeah, I'll call the guards.
Go on, call the guards.
Yeah, I will call the guards. Just stay back. Stay back, I'll call the guards.
I don't give a about your family or nothing. You will lose more than you ever lost.
I can see that.
Unlawful eviction, attempting to remove a tenant without following legal procedure, is a criminal offense in the UK, with physical interference with a tenant's access to their accommodation representing a documented category of that offense. On May 7, 2026, at approximately 6:47 in the evening, a situation began unfolding inside an apartment that quickly escalated into a deadly encounter. It started with a 911 call placed by a man who reported hearing a gunshot coming from inside an apartment where 31-year-old Jasmine Wooten Mitchell was believed to be. During that call, dispatchers could hear multiple people in the background, all trying to get her to open the door. The caller explained that they believed she may have been shot and that no one could get inside to check on her. While officers were already on the way to that location, a second 911 call came in, raising the urgency even further. This time, the report was that a woman was outside the apartment building actively firing a gun.
Well, person those calls say that you hear a gunshot.
211 and 40. We just heard a gunshot as well too. We're gonna go check it out.
Richmond 911. What is the address of the emergency?
It is 4030.
You said 4030 apartment.
4030. I need the police right now.
Okay.
This lady is out here shooting. I got kids in this house. She's shooting.
She's shooting?
Yes, she's shooting.
Okay, she's shooting
a gun.
She's shooting a gun. All right.
Yeah, we got multiple people running throughout the complex and some commotion around the 4028.
Within minutes, officers arrived at the complex. As they pulled up, the scene was already chaotic. Witnesses quickly pointed officers toward an upstairs area, and several residents could be seen running through the property trying to get away from the danger. Body camera footage later showed officers moving quickly toward the building and climbing the stairwell after hearing additional gunshots echoing through the complex. According to investigators, Wooten Mitchell had moved outside and was allegedly firing a weapon. Authorities say she fired in the direction of an apartment and also toward the stairwell area where officers were approaching.
Anyone know what's going on?
It's in my baby, no. She said it sound like it's in the building over there.
Okay.
It happened this morning.
Building 4028 is 10-4. We're checking out 4030 now. Hey, what's going on?
Hello?
It's the police.
Police department!
With gunfire continuing and the threat still active, one officer discharged their weapon, striking her. After she was down, officers moved in, secured the scene, and located a handgun near her body. They immediately began attempting to provide medical aid, but despite those efforts, she was pronounced dead at the scene.
Get down, get down! Get down! 211 and 4, shots fired. 211 and 4, shots fired.
You got eyes?
Yep, right here.
211 and 4.
Don't move! Don't move! Don't move!
211 and 13 Bravo 4 response to
Don't move!
Hold on, I got it. You shot, right?
Yep.
All right, be advised, OIS. We got one down on the top floor, 4030.
Shots fired. 211 4, shots fired. You got eyes? Yep, right here.
Don't move!
Don't move!
Here's 269 copter. You guys same force this time?
211 forward.
I got it. Yeah, we're 10-4.
Hey, we're up here! What do you need? Come up here! We just gotta secure the guns. He's right here. Hey, so you fire in this gun to check to see if anybody's in there too.
Someone grab the gun.
Yeah, secure the gun. Hey, she was shooting at this door. We just gotta make sure this is secure so nobody's in there still down too, okay? Alright.
Y'all good?
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah.
Do we got a shield for that?
Nope. Alright, hey, we need to render aid too.
Where's the police? Coming in!
So we can try to apply direct pressure to the wound.
As more details came out, the situation took on an even heavier emotional weight. Wooten Mitchell was a mother of 2 young children, a 6-month-old baby boy and a 10-year-old daughter. Her daughter had just celebrated her 11th birthday earlier that week. Investigators also confirmed that she had experienced a personal loss just 1 day prior to the incident, having lost the father of one of her children. While authorities have not stated exactly how that may have influenced the events, it adds another layer to an already complex and tragic situation. What began as a call about a possible shooting inside an apartment quickly escalated into an active gunfire situation that forced residents to flee and officers to respond under extreme pressure. The incident is now under investigation as officials work to piece together exactly what led up to those moments and how the situation unfolded so rapidly. In High Wycombe, UK, at the local bus station, a man became agitated and flipped a drinks vending machine over. He then moved through the station attempting to damage other property in the vicinity. Incidents of property destruction in public transit facilities are a documented category of disruptive behavior, with vending machines and station furniture among the most commonly targeted objects in documented cases. Moving outside, he turned his attention to the actual buses, physically confronting them. Throughout all of this, the other people present at the station remained calm.
All right, bye.
A metal rod hit a car on the highway in Kaohsiung, Taiwan. The driver was unharmed, according to the police, and an inquiry was launched. Afterwards, the driver expressed gratitude for his survival. On Thursday, May 14, 2026, at approximately 9:12 in the morning, officers with the Baltimore Police Department were dispatched to the 800 block of Carton Avenue after receiving a 911 call reporting an armed individual. As units began moving toward the area, Officer Sherrod Watson, who was already nearby, encountered a man on foot in the 3300 block of Wilkins Avenue. That man was later identified as 46-year-old Lewis Jackson. According to investigators, the situation escalated almost immediately upon contact. Officer Watson radioed that Jackson had fired a shot directly at his patrol vehicle. In response, Officer Watson stopped his cruiser, exited the vehicle, and began issuing verbal commands, ordering Jackson to drop the weapon and comply. Authorities say Jackson ignored those commands and continued firing in the direction of the officers.
Get out! Get on the ground! Get out! Get out! Where's he at, Rank?
He's right there. He's down. He's down.
With the threat ongoing and gunfire being exchanged, Officer Watson and Officer Mark Rankine discharged their service weapons, striking Jackson. Once Jackson was down, officers moved in to secure the scene and recover the weapon. A handgun was later located near him. Officers immediately began providing emergency medical aid while waiting for paramedics to arrive.
Signal 13, coming out for Wilkins and Kate.
That's him.
All right, start me a medic.
Signal 13, Wilkins and Kate, shots fired, one down.
Start me a medic.
Suspect down. Handgun recovered.
10-4, suspect down.
Yeah, we're good. We're good. I'm trying to render aid here. SB1 starting compressions.
One aid in reference, that's the same gentleman I walked by. I just looked at my vehicle. There was like a little hole or some thing of paint that hit my vehicle when I was on the way responding to this call. I just realized it, but I did hear the noise. That must be the same gentleman. A number 1 male was walking down Wilkins. Shots fired! Shots fired! Shots fired! Suspect down! He's right there! He's down! He's down! Don't move! Don't move!
Signal 13, coming out for Wilkins and
Yeah, that's him.
Jackson was transported to a nearby hospital in Baltimore, but despite those efforts, he was pronounced dead a short time later. Authorities confirmed that no officers were injured during the incident. What began as a report of an armed individual quickly turned into an active shooting situation, with officers forced to respond under immediate threat as the encounter unfolded within seconds of initial contact.
Araba yandı.
On May 19, 2026, a hybrid car exploded in the financial sector of Manhattan, New York, causing pedestrians to flee for their lives at rush hour. Authorities suspect that an electrical problem is the cause. No injuries were reported.
Kolay gelsin. Ben Emirhan.
On the 23rd of May 2026 in Ankara, Turkey, 3 individuals were hurt as a result of a truck driver who failed to detect that his dump bed had lifted and struck a pedestrian overpass despite the fact that other drivers were attempting to warn him. Authorities have stated that the injuries sustained were not severe. A young woman in Surgut, Russia, was in an elevator when her power bank burst inside her purse. Authorities said she was unharmed. Pretty wild, huh? The group was attempting to summit Mont Blanc via the standard Gouda route. Their path required a traverse of the Grand Couloir, a natural funnel in the mountain's geography that channels loose rock from the terrain above directly through the crossing zone. This section is known among climbers as the Death Gully. The crossing itself is short. It is also entirely unprotected, with no shelter available to those who must cross it. The couloir's documented record reflects the hazard. Between 1990 and 2017, rescue operations linked to the Grand Couloir numbered in the hundreds. During that same period, in excess of 100 deaths and upward of 200 injuries were attributed to the crossing. Many climbers approaching this section treat it as the most exposed point on the entire route. Not the summit, but this brief traverse. Rockfall frequency in the Grand Couloir is influenced by thermal cycling, freeze-thaw conditions that progressively destabilize loose rock above the couloir, meaning the hazard varies by season and time of day in documented patterns. To limit simultaneous exposure, the group adopted a single-file crossing protocol, one person at a time. Each crossing was completed before the next began. Several members had already completed the traverse without incident. Then, while one climber was in the middle of the crossing, rockfall initiated from above. Stones and boulders descended the couloir at speed. They traveled through the same area she was currently occupying. The area offered no shelter, no viable direction to move, no path that provided cover. She dropped face down onto the slope and pressed herself against the mountain, holding that position. For approximately 2 minutes, rocks continued to descend around her. Some of the debris made contact with her body. She stayed down. Premature movement carried the risk of direct impact from the material still in motion. When the rock fall slowed, she was alive. Disorientation had set in, and getting to her feet proved impossible. Each attempt to stand showed the impacts had compromised her stability. The crossing could not be completed on her own. The group assessed the situation and determined that rescue intervention was required. A helicopter was dispatched to the location. She was airlifted from the mountain. She survived and subsequently recovered. The group's decision to cross one at a time was a mitigation against a specific risk, more than one person being exposed at the same moment. That protocol functioned as designed. Only one climber was in the couloir when the rockfall occurred, but the confirmed incident establishes something the protocol was never designed to address. The hazard itself was not reduced by spacing the crossings. The question the footage raises is not whether crossing one at a time is sound practice. The record supports that it is. The question is what the confirmed rockfall established about the gap between the protocol that manages the number of people exposed and the underlying conditions that determine whether any individual crossing can be completed safely. The 2-minute duration, with debris continuing to fall around a climber who was already stationary and pressed against the slope, is one measure of what that gap looks like in practice. On April 13, 2026, a truck driver in Sukoharjo, Central Java, Indonesia, fell asleep at the wheel and almost struck a woman who was sleeping on a motorcycle. Only the driver had minor injuries, according to the authorities. On August 12, 2015, a driver was approaching the port in Tianjin, China, with a dashcam recording when the footage captured what followed. A first explosion broke out at a Ruihai logistics warehouse. 33 seconds after that, a second detonation followed, significantly more powerful than the first. The fireball generated by that second blast expanded across the site, engulfing buildings, vehicles, containers, and the surrounding area. The fires burned for days. Further explosions occurred as the hazardous contents continued to react. Firefighters arrived at the initial fire without complete knowledge of what chemicals the warehouse held. A significant number were positioned at the scene when the second detonation occurred. The confirmed death toll reached 173. Of those, 104 were firefighters. Hundreds of additional people sustained injuries. Hazardous material storage regulations in industrial port facilities are designed in part to ensure that first responders have documented inventory of what is stored, so that emergency response protocols can be calibrated to the specific chemicals present rather than deployed without that information. The warehouse, investigators determined, had held dangerous chemicals in an unlawful and improper manner. Sodium cyanide was among the confirmed materials on site. Ammonium nitrate was also present. According to investigators, the fire's origin was nitrocellulose, a material that had become unstable following loss of its wetting agent. When that fire moved through the storage area, a chain reaction followed that exceeded what the port was equipped to contain. The investigation documented corruption and illegal approvals, together with a prolonged failure to observe safety regulations over an extended period. 49 people received sentences in connection with the incident. Those sentences included executives from the company and officials in government. For Yu Shui Wei, the Weihai Logistics chairman, the sentence was death with suspension of execution. Of the 173 confirmed deaths, 104 were firefighters. Responders who arrived at the initial fire without complete information about the chemicals stored in the warehouse. The investigation confirmed that storage had been unlawful and that the chemical inventory was not available to first responders in a form that could have informed their approach. What the confirmed proportion of firefighter deaths, more than 60% of the total, establishes in relation to that finding is the question the record leaves open. Whether the connection between incomplete disclosure of stored chemicals and the outcome for first responders is reflected in those numbers. In the city of Coaba, Brazil, a young woman was out walking her dog when she was struck by a concrete manhole cover that cracked beneath her. The accounts indicate that she suffered injuries to her lip and chin in addition to broken teeth before she was rescued by bystanders. Lauren Coombs is a documented subject who has stated her belief that her house is haunted. Beginning in 2021, she began recording activity occurring in and around her home, believing it to be connected to an unexplained presence. She subsequently posted the resulting footage online, seeking explanations for what the recordings showed.
Luna, come on.
One recording shows a bottle on a counter tipping over. Lauren is not visible touching it. Her cat, based on the footage, does not appear close enough to have displaced it. The cause of the movement is not confirmed.
Did you do that?
But now
So I'm trying to be as calm as possible with all this stuff that is going on in my house. The books fell from that shelf. Thank you, Turtle. These are the books that fell, which is fine. Ignore my nails. I dyed someone's hair. This was one. The other. This one wouldn't be so bad if what was said on the TV as soon as the books fell, right after. What the shit? Oh my God.
According to Lauren's account, while she was seated on the couch at home alone, she experienced a sensation she described as something tugging her hair from behind. When she turned to look, no one was present. Lauren also stated that a friend was present in the home during the episode in which the dogs became agitated. She further stated that reviewing the tree line footage felt to her like confirmation of a presence she had believed was inside her home.
Someone out there, look. What the hell?
That tree line footage shows a faint shape moving back and forth gradually near the trees. The shape does not appear fully solid. Instead, it is partially transparent, blending into the surrounding darkness while remaining visible within the frame. The movement is documented across multiple frames of the recording. After reviewing this footage, Lauren's reaction is captured on camera. She was crying. Tree line footage recorded by fixed outdoor cameras is subject to documented optical artifacts, including lens flare, compression distortion, and light diffraction from moving foliage, each of which can produce partially transparent moving shapes within the frame that resist clear categorization. The tree line footage registers two visual qualities simultaneously. The figure is in motion and it is partially transparent. A fully solid physical presence, a person, an animal, should produce an opaque image under the same recording conditions. A purely photographic artifact, lens distortion, diffraction from foliage, would not be expected to exhibit directional movement independent of what the camera camera itself is doing. The question the footage raises is whether those two confirmed qualities, partial transparency and visible movement, can be produced by the same cause simultaneously. A single explanation that accounts for one of these qualities does not automatically account for both. Whether a person, a lighting artifact, or something else can produce both qualities in the same frame at the same time is what the footage leaves unresolved. An accident occurred in Russia in the Dmitrov area close to Moscow when a cab driver lost control of his vehicle and debris hit an automobile that was already nearby. According to the reports, there were no injuries involved. On May 23, 2026, Buffalo police officers were driving north on Deschler Street toward Broadway when a situation quickly unfolded in front of them. As they moved through the area, a pedestrian flagged them down and urgently pointed out a man nearby. She told officers that he was responsible for stabbing her boyfriend the day before, on May 22.
What's up? Yo! Who? Is that actually him or no? Dude, come here. Dude, don't run up on me. Dude.
With that information, officers immediately shifted their focus toward the suspect. As they approached, they identified the man as 35-year-old Derek Harris. It didn't take long for them to realize this wasn't going to be a routine encounter. Officers saw that Harris was armed, holding a box cutter in one hand and a pair of scissors in the other. Officer Simonian, who was in the same patrol vehicle as Officer Slupinski, stepped in to confront him. Instead of rushing in, he initially tried to de-escalate the situation, speaking to Harris and attempting to get him to drop the weapons, but Harris refused to comply. When verbal commands didn't work, Officer Simonian drew his department-issued firearm, hoping that would force Harris to surrender. Instead, the situation took a disturbing turn.
What's up? Yo! Who? Is that actually him or no? Yo! Drop that shit! Drop that shit! Don't shoot me! Shoot! Get him! Get him! Taser, taser! Get on the ground! Roll over! You're gonna get tased again! God damn it! Roll over! He stabbed me! Roll the over! Stabbed me! Roll over! You're gonna get tased again!
For a brief moment, it appeared the situation might be under control. Both officers moved in, trying to restrain and take Harris into custody, but Harris managed to break free from their grip. Still armed, he ran away from the officers and into active traffic on Broadway, creating an even more dangerous situation for everyone in the area. Both officers pursued him into the street. With Harris still holding the weapons and refusing to stop, Officer Simonian fired 2 shots, striking him.
I'm killing myself! Roll over! I'm killing myself! I'm killing myself! Need more cars on Broadway! I'm killing myself! God damn it! Drop the knife! Drop the knife! Knife! Kill me! Kill me! We need cars, radio! Broadway Lydell! Get on your fucking stomach! Get on your stomach now! Get on your stomach! I'm dying. I'm dying. Kill me, please. You got a med bag in your car? I'm dying. Go up. Go up. Talk to me. Dude, come here. Don't run up on me. Dude, don't run up on me. Dude, don't drop the scissors. Shoot me. Drop the scissors. Don't run up on me. Shoot me. Drop the scissors. Don't shoot me. Don't shoot me. Shoot. Get him. Get him. Get on the ground. Roll over. You're gonna get tased again. God damn it. Roll over. He stabbed me. Roll the over. He stabbed me. Roll over. You're gonna get tased again. I'm killing myself. Roll over. I'm killing myself. I'm killing myself. Need more cars on Broadway. I'm killing myself. God damn it. Drop the knife. Drop the knife. Drop the knife. Kill me. Kill me. We need cars. Kill me. Broadway right now. Kill me! Kill me! Kill me! Kill me! Kill me! I'm dying! I'm dying! Kill me, please! Please kill me! I'm dying! Go look. I'm dying already!
Shots fired! I need a lieutenant over here!
Get on your stomach. Can't move. Can't move.
Good? Yeah, we're good. Roll them over. Trying to get him in custody. Roll them over. There you go. You good? I'm good. He stabbed me. He poked me. Okay, get up. God. Are you all right? Hold on. Where are you standing?
Once Harris was down, officers immediately moved in to secure the weapons and begin medical aid. He had suffered gunshot wounds to the hip and torso, along with additional injuries including stab wounds to his chest and neck. At the same time, Officer Simonian was also seriously injured from the earlier attack. He was transported by police vehicle to Erie County Medical Center for treatment of the stab wound to his back. Emergency crews from Buffalo Fire and AMR arrived shortly afterward and took over medical care at the scene. Harris was then transported by ambulance to the same hospital where he remains hospitalized. Authorities confirmed that Harris is facing a first-degree robbery charge connected to an incident involving a Lyft driver. Investigators also indicated that additional charges are still pending as they continue reviewing everything that happened. What started as officers being flagged down on patrol quickly turned into a violent and fast-moving confrontation involving multiple weapons, an injured officer, and a pursuit that spilled into a busy roadway. A family paused at a picturesque overlook in Xinjiang, China in August 2021 to enjoy the scenery. The car reportedly started sliding toward the edge of the cliff after the handbrake failed. One woman was unable to unbuckle her seatbelt and went over with the car, but 3 other passengers were able to exit in time. Authorities said that despite her wounds, she lived. During the early hours of April 26, 2008, Austrian police and hospital staff were presented with a medical situation that did not initially resolve into a clear explanation. A young woman named Kirsten, 19 years old, had been brought in unconscious. Her condition was critical, her symptoms severe. With her was Joseph Fritzl, who provided an account of her background. According to Fritzl, Kirsten's mother, his daughter Elizabeth had become involved with a religious cult some years prior, subsequently severing all ties with the family. He stated that Elizabeth had, on occasional separate occasions, left children at his door for him to take care of. Doctors were not persuaded. Police were not either. When investigators asked additional questions, Fritzl repeated elements of the same account. When individual details were challenged, he adjusted them. Elizabeth had been held captive since August 28, 1984. The confinement totaled 24 years. The location was a hidden underground structure constructed directly beneath Fritzl's property, built and maintained by Fritzl over the course of the confinement period. The entrance was not visible from the basement. It was concealed behind shelving units in the basement workshop area, the shelving itself forming part of the visual camouflage. To reach the confined space from the entrance, investigators passed through multiple sequential locked zones, narrow corridor sections, and a series of successive barriers before arriving at the interior. The structure incorporated reinforced doors, electronic locking mechanisms, ventilation systems, and a range of structural modifications that would have required both sustained planning and repeated physical labor to complete. The overall construction indicated preparation that had been undertaken over a significant extended period of time, not improvised in a short interval. Each element, the concealment, the locking mechanisms, the ventilation, represented a deliberate design choice that was necessary for the space to function as it did across more than 2 decades. At the time of discovery, Elizabeth and 3 children were present underground. All 3 had been born within the underground structure and had spent their entire lives there. None of them had any exposure to the outdoors or to direct sunlight during the years of confinement. The physical contents of the underground space included beds, a compact kitchen area, and a bathroom. Items associated with markings of birthdays and holidays were present in the space. The walls of the structure bore evidence of gradual expansion, indicating that the physical boundaries of the space had been extended on multiple occasions over the course of the years. One of the male children had reached a height at which the low ceiling of the underground space forced him to move through it with his upper body bent forward. While Elizabeth and the 3 children remained underground, other children from the same family had been raised at street level. These children were formally registered with relevant authorities. The documentation used to support their registration included letters that Fritzl submitted as having been written by Elizabeth. According to the documented record, those letters had been formulated to convey an impression of voluntary independent living, without providing specific details that could be independently corroborated. Austrian authorities accepted this documentation as the basis for the formal record. Social services processed the paperwork generated by those submissions. Foster arrangements for the children were formally established through the administrative system. At no point during this process was any official inquiry initiated into the underlying pattern that the documentation represented. A woman recorded as having voluntarily cut all family contact was nonetheless repeatedly associated in the record with the arrival of successive infants at the family address, each instance occurring without anyone having directly observed her in person, followed each time by her absence without a confirmed sighting. On multiple occasions during the period of confinement, neighbors reported hearing unusual sounds originating from the basement of Fritzl's property. Fritzl attributed these sounds to plumbing, his stated explanation at the time. The explanation was accepted. During the same period, individuals rented rooms within the house. After Elizabeth was freed and the investigation commenced, DNA testing negated every aspect of the account Fritzl had supplied. His stated explanations shifted progressively during questioning, moving from logistical claims toward characterizations describing the confinement through domestic routine and structured daily life. According to his own statements, he described the period through references to established chores and household routines and to the observance of celebrations. In statements made at trial, Fritzl described his role as necessary. This self-characterization is documented in the trial record. The trial included a substantial period during which jurors were shown recorded testimony from Elizabeth. The volume and content of that testimony required proceedings to be suspended on multiple occasions. Elizabeth subsequently came to court wearing a disguise. She did not speak. Upon seeing her in the courtroom, Fritzl altered his plea. A life sentence was imposed on Joseph Fritzl. The sentence is served within a secured psychiatric unit. Following the conclusion of proceedings, Elizabeth, together with her children, was relocated and given new identities. Medical and psychological care was provided. The children who had spent their lives underground required structured support in learning foundational aspects of existence outside confinement, including basic orientation to physical space and external environments. A television dramatization drawing on aspects of the case was subsequently produced. Social services processed documentation for the children raised above ground based on letters that Fritzl submitted as correspondence from Elizabeth. Those letters were accepted as sufficient to establish a formal administrative record. The pattern underlying that documentation, a woman recorded as having severed family contact, who nonetheless repeatedly appeared in the administrative record only in connection with the arrival of infants, without any confirmed direct sighting of her person, was never the subject of official inquiry. Documentation was processed. Procedure was followed. The question that confirmed a record establishes is whether institutional procedure, when applied without scrutiny of the pattern it is processing, constitutes accountability, or whether the confirmed absence of any inquiry into that pattern represents a gap between what the institution did and what it existed to do. This footage was posted to TikTok by the account Ale Valencia. The uploader's younger sister died in February 2026 following a prolonged illness with cancer. The recording was made during a wake, a memorial held at the family's home. The footage shows a balloon whose movement, as captured on camera, did not appear to drift aimlessly. It came to rest beside the family's younger brother. Balloon movement in indoor environments is subject to air currents from HVAC systems, body heat, and foot traffic, which can produce directional movement that appears non-random even in the absence of an external force. According to their stated interpretation, they believe their sister was present at the wake and saying goodbye. They described the balloons settling beside their younger brother as a final comfort from her. Here's a short clip of someone who appears to be possessed. Yeah, that's what some believe, but maybe, just maybe, this person is under high stress from their exam. Just a thought, but let me know what you think. In Scotland, there is an abandoned housing development known as Clune Park Estate, a place that now sits in ruin, frozen between history and decay. What used to be a working residential community has deteriorated into rows of hollowed structures, shattered windows, and silent streets where no one officially lives anymore. Visitors who pass through often describe the same reaction, an immediate sense of discomfort that's difficult to explain but impossible to ignore. The estate dates back to the early 1920s and was originally constructed to house shipyard workers and their families. For a time, it functioned exactly as intended, a tight residential block full of daily life. But over the decades, occupancy steadily declined. Homes were vacated, maintenance stopped. One by one, buildings fell into disrepair. The documented reasons include economic downturn and unsafe living conditions, but locals have long shared a darker explanation that something about the place drove people away. Drawn by the estate's reputation, two friends decided to explore it after dark, bringing cameras to document whatever they might find. Their plan was simple: walk the grounds, enter a few of the abandoned flats, and record the experience. For nearly an hour, nothing out of the ordinary happens. Only empty rooms, broken fixtures, and wind moving through exposed corridors. Their voices echo through stripped interiors as they move from unit to unit. Then the tone changes.
Hello? Isn't it? Hello? Yo! Hello? Yo, Coach, let's do. Hello? What the f is that? Is that downstairs? Hello? There's someone down there, bro. How can you? I'm confused. Huh? In that room. Hello? Hello? What are we hearing? Hello?
While standing inside a vandalized living room, both men abruptly stop talking. A sudden noise cracks through the silence from somewhere below, sharp, contained, and distinctly indoor. Not wind, not distant debris, something closer. They exchange looks and begin moving toward the stairwell. Following the direction of the sound, their camera light cuts across peeling walls and exposed wiring as they descend. They reach the lower level and find a door partly open. The noise, they're certain, came from inside that room. They push it wider and check. Nothing. No movement, no person, no animal. The space is empty. They state on camera that they had already checked the building perimeter before entering and found no one inside, but the most unsettling detail wasn't noticed in real time.
Isn't it? Future in hand. Right, that one's open. Yo. You see movement then? Move the light. Yo. Yo. That. Yo.
Earlier in the recording, just before they first entered the building, the camera briefly angled upward toward a second-floor window. When reviewing the footage later, viewers spotted movement behind a curtain, a subtle twitch, followed by a pale face positioned in the gap. It appears only for a moment, staring outward, completely still, then it withdraws behind the fabric. Frame by frame, the image becomes clearer and stranger. The face looks unnaturally smooth, lacking normal expression or motion blur. No blinking, no shift in posture, just a fixed, watching presence where no one should have been. The explorers never found a source. No footsteps followed, no voices answered, only that single, silent glimpse in a building that felt far less empty than it looked. Here, a woman is seen struggling to operate a sizable heavy metal storage rack that is filled with various objects in what appears to be a retail or warehouse setting. The entire structure topples when she pulls it and loses control. Thanks for watching. Stay vigilant, friends.